It's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of Live at the Bike, brought to you by the Bicycle Casino in Los Angeles, California, the first and only webcast of real action cash game poker. My name's Bart Hanson. I'm here with Dave Tuck, and we're going to be doing a little 5-5, 300 min, 500 max, no limit hold'em. Got a lot of stuff to talk about other than poker this week.
Oh, yeah.
What happened over this weekend? Some interesting news that happened to Dave and I earlier before the show. And we will get to that throughout the show. Let's head over to the table and let's get started.
Let's do it. I am so jazzed this week, I got to tell you. I don't know why. It's just, it's 2 weeks before the World Series is starting. Literally 2 weeks from today, the World Series will be going on. World Series of Poker. And I am just gearing up for it. We're playing 500 blinds, right? 500, 5 blinds.
That's right.
Seat number 1, we've got Joe. He is known as Chester on 2+2.
Had a great night the last time he was on the show.
Yeah, he seems to win every single time he's on the show. He really dominates, and there he's taking a pot in. Seat number 2, we got Alan. And Alan used to be a professional poker player, then used to be a prop here. Now he's back to being just a professional poker player.
And we'll see him on the no-limit games now that he's not propping. He used to not like to play when he was on, but now he will.
Right, well, he was playing. He was also working, I think, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.,
right.
So he wouldn't stay afterwards. Seat number 3, we got Rudy. Obviously not the same Rudy from Notre Dame, but Rudy nonetheless. Seat number 4, we've got Walt. Good movie, by the way, Rudy. That was a great movie. Seat number 4, we got Walt, and Walt is back in action. He's a professional poker player, pretty good player in his own right. Seat number 5, we've got RJ. Don't know much about RJ. Get a look at him today. Seat number 6 is Jerry, and Jerry's this is his bread and butter game. This is the game he likes to play, but we see him taking a step up in the bigger game. I know he played this afternoon with you and I in the 5-10 game. Taking that step up, he's kind of still in between, though, definitely. Seat number 7, we got Owen. Owen, primarily a limit hold'em player, but he's catching on to this no-limit thing.
Yep.
Taking shots at it. Seat number 8, we've got Rick Nebbiolo, also a 2+2er.
Under the name Rick Nebbiolo.
Pretty crazy.
Yep.
Yep. I give you 2-1 odds that Rick doesn't smile all night long. Seat number 9, we've got Rustam. And
he plays all kinds of games. I've seen him in limit games, this game.
They'll play a little everything.
So here we go. Buttons in seat 5. 5-5, no limit. Hold them 300 min, 500 max. Bring your stack up to 500 at any time, Dave. And it looks like Rostam here has got queens in seat 9. He just limps in from early position.
Playing it tricky.
And he's going to see it limped around here 5 ways. So it's a $25 pot. Rostam with queens. Well, there's the ace. 2 people have aces, and I assume Rostam, maybe it's just a check and fold here. Well, he's going to throw a little $10 bet out there, and Alan is going to raise him up right away with the ace-jack. He's going to make it 25 to go. And Rudy overcalls here with ace-5. Oh, we talk about usually...
And he's going to call with the queens.
Wow, and he overcalls with queens. Two mistakes overcalls here.
Nothing wrong with limping in with queens, but you got to get away from them.
Well, the turn's a 3rd spade.
You also don't have the queen of spades in your hand, so you're thinking, okay, well, if a guy has an ace, I only need the queen of hearts, and that's it.
Look at this. It's checked around on the turn, and the river brings a 4 spade, and Alan is still good. Nobody has a spade in their hand.
And nobody takes a shot at it. Oh, Rudy's going to take a shot at it. That's not enough, I don't think.
He's going to bet 30. Yeah, but the thing is, if Rostam calls here, can Alan overcall?
No.
Well, Rostam's going to fold, and Alan gets away from it as well, and Rudy takes down the hand there.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised that Alan threw that away. I really think you need to call there. The pot was almost $100. 30 to call. Actually, 130 to call.
Yep.
And getting 4.5 to 1 on your money.
You know, some interesting news. Dave and I were playing the 5-10 game this afternoon, and Dave hit the jackpot. He was the winner. He flopped a set of 10s, and a guy had a set of aces, and the turn was a 10, so you won the 25% end. And I go to table share. The jackpot was $10,900. At first, we thought, because last month, we thought it was the $100,000, because the rule used to be here during certain hours I think it's 11 to 2 and then 4 to 7 Monday through Thursday. If you have pocket pair over pocket pair, it is the 100,000. Obviously not like an ace-king with 3 aces on board. Unfortunately for us, they changed that because they now have double jackpots after 7 o'clock, and the 100,000 is now quads over quads, pocket pair, pocket pair.
Right. Now, obviously, you can't have straight flush as long as both hole cards play also, but basically quads have to lose to a better hand.
Yeah. Got a set of fours here for Owen. He bets right into it. He's not going to get any action.
I don't mind that. I like the play.
Yeah.
Yeah, flop came out ace 10-9, by the way. I had raised pre-flop. The guy with aces smooth called me.
Yeah.
And I flopped the set of 10s, bet right into it. The set of aces mini raised me right away. And the only thing that was unfortunate was I actually won the pot, but the pot was only about, he had like 100 left.
Right.
So when he re-raised, I bet like 40 into the pot. He made it 80. I just re-raised them all in because I knew, obviously, I figured he had an ace.
And you ended up with $2,700. I ended up with a $390 table share, and the big end was
$5,400.
$5,400, something like that. Now, obviously, exciting whenever you win free money. We were really jazzed at first because everyone thought that it was the big jackpot, pocket pair over pocket pair. But we had heard that at the beginning of the month it actually changed because of the double jackpot rules.
Right.
So. And this one's going to get chopped up here between.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for a moment there, when I thought I was getting $25,000, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
My World Series, the tournaments are paid for.
Yeah.
Done.
As always, we like to keep this show interactive. You can email us at live@thebike.com. Questions, comments, suggestions. You can also follow a live thread started on the internet by going to 2plus2.com spelled out. Click on forums, World Poker Tour, etc. What a weekend of sports. And I got to tell you, I basically, everything that possibly could have gone wrong this weekend went wrong. Okay. I'm sure we'll be talking about this all night. Obviously, the U.S. got crushed this morning.
What do you mean?
Nadal.
The game was today? I didn't see it. What happened?
Oh, boy. So you're going to hear this all night.
What happened?
Nadal.
Oh, man.
Nadal beat Federer. And then the other The other bad beat was England played horrible and still won.
Oh, man.
And
what
then
an awful weekend.
Trinidad tied Sweden, so it kind of means that England gets to walk into the second round.
Yeah, this sucks. Really, what a terrible weekend.
Limped around
So
here.
what was the score? The U.S.
3-0.
lost 3-0. Wow, man. Tough.
Six-way action here. Well, how about a nut flush here for Jerry in seat 6?
Flops the nuts.
A couple people have top pair here, 7-10. Now, Rick is open-ended with the Jack of Hearts. And Rudy's going to bet 25 here with King 10. Let's see how Jerry's going to play it. He's going to call. Again, I always think that becomes obvious. I actually might raise a little bit.
Nice fold by Rick. He realizes right away his open-ended straight draw is garbage.
I might raise with the nut flush draw for deception purposes, Dave. The turn is a 3 here. And now Rudy's going to check, and Jerry checks right behind him. And the river's a 4. Rudy checks, and now Jerry's going to bet.
Wow. And
that's 100, and he gets a quick call there by Rudy.
Now in this one case, obviously he made the money. But you've got to realize that if Rudy had, say, King 10 with the King of Hearts, you could have actually raised it up on the flop, probably gotten a call.
Well, the other
bet the turn, gotten a call, and then who knows, at the point when the river comes out, maybe he convinces himself to call because the pot is so big, and he convinces himself that you are betting the entire way with the Ace of Hearts and only the Ace of Hearts.
Well, the other thing that becomes obvious is if I bet the turn and Jerry raises the turn, I immediately think he has the nut flush. And if he just calls the turn and I bet the river and he raises, I know he's not bluffing. He had flopped the nut flush. So that's why I say sometimes, I do it for more deceptive purposes. Obviously, fast playing being more deceptive than the way that everyone might play a nut flush in that case.
Definitely.
Now, RJ's going to raise it up here to 35. Open raise here with ace-queen offsuit.
Pocket 8's an interesting hand. 2 red 8s there in seat number 4.
Jerry's going to call here with ace-jack offsuit. He is dominated here. That hand that is often dominated.
Yeah, Walt decided to limp in with the ace, and I'm sure he's going to call now that 2 players are involved.
No, he doesn't. Wow.
Well, I'm really surprised.
Yeah, because RJ is really deep enough, and so is Walt.
Yeah, I don't understand. For $25, why not?
Well, King, Queen, 9 here.
Maybe he knew the flop was coming.
See if RJ, I assume he's going to lead forward with a continuation bet. And I would assume that Jerry's probably not going to take one off unless he thinks he can call and maybe bet the guy off on the turn. All right, RJ's going to bet 60, about a pot-sized bet.
It's funny, the more I watch Jerry play, and now that I've played with him, and obviously when I'm playing with him, I'm really paying attention to the way he plays, his play really is rather peculiar. some of the plays he makes. I mean, we saw a couple times in the 5-10 game where the pot was $25, and he bet 100. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Now, he had top pair that time with like a 4 kicker. The board was like Jack 8 deuce. He had Jack 4, and he bet $100 into a $25 pot. I'm going. The play, I was wondering what the guy had when he bet so much.
Yeah, now Jerry, he's been running hot, and he's moved up to the 5-10 game. He's played it a few times, and he was part of the jackpot win as well.
Yeah, you got the table share?
I mean, we'll start with the bad news. I mean, hey, I'm open. I mean, the U.S., it's funny. I told you, after the first half, Dave, I said, the U.S. has made a couple of mistakes, and I thought that Czech got a little bit lucky in the first half. The game could have easily been 1-1. I said, it's going to be very tough for them to come back. Maybe they can get a draw, but they're not playing that bad. But then once the second half, the second half they played 10 times worse than the first half.
Yeah, they looked bad.
It was pitiful.
And they looked really, really bad. And just for the record, I was rooting for the United States. I wanted the United States to win, and I still do. I was just being a realist, and I really thought going into this World Cup, I wouldn't have been surprised if the U.S. lost to Czech Republic, lost to Italy, and ended up drawing against Ghana.
Which might look like it might actually happen now. King 8-8 here on the flop. It was limped around. Two people have top pair here, Alan and Joe. Now, Joe...
But Jerry's going to bet with 9s.
Yeah, he's going to bet. And let's see if, that's not the flop you're looking for with King 3 of diamonds. I'd be very surprised if Joe is going to get involved here. But he's going to actually throw a little raise in right away.
Yeah, a little bit of a feeler raise here. And the one thing about Joe's game that you got to like is he would raise this with an 8 also.
Right. And that's a lot better than calling here, I think.
Oh, no, you can't call. And look, by raising that, he actually gets King 10 out.
Right.
And you can't blame Allen for laying on King 10 there at all.
Right. And like I said, Joe would do this with an 8. He might do it with a flush draw as well. That's obviously the power of raising and betting with your top pairs, trips, flush draws. Before you got to the table today, I got involved with a couple of hands where I bet right out with a couple of monsters. Really got paid off. And then anytime I bet in early position out of the blinds in a limp pot, everyone gave me super respect because they saw the fact that I bet with my sets and my 2 pair. I actually won a hand off of the host of the game, Tony, Dave. He was limped in for 600 with ace queen. And the flop came queen 9 deuce with a couple clubs. I bet a guy called. He raised. Now, I knew the other guy was probably on a draw, and I said, you know what, Tony, he doesn't have enough money. If he's got a set of deuces, he's got a set of deuces. I pushed. He called, and I said, do you have a set of deuces? He's like, no, he had ace queen.
Yeah, obviously a big overplay.
Yeah.
I mean, when you bet into it, obviously he can put you on clubs. He can also put you on Jack 10, open-ended.
Yeah. But it's almost like he almost commits himself by raising there. He's so short that he almost has to call with ace
sometimes
queen.
When you have ace queen and when you're that short, sometimes you are committing yourself to top pair, top kicker. But I got to tell you, when the pot's not raised, I don't want to go broke.
Right. No, I know. Even if you're playing short stack. Rostam is going to raise there with king, queen offsuit, and he's going to take it down. And he almost seemed surprised, Dave. I really thought he had a big hand, like a set of deuces, and he just didn't have enough. I'm like, there's a couple other hands he might make this move with that I can beat. So he only has 300 left. I'm definitely going to put him in.
Yeah, I think maybe he thought you had a draw.
Or maybe like a king, queen, or a king, jack I was leading out. Or
if you're not going to lead out, then he raises, you're going to move all
No,
in.
No, I know.
Jack.
But like I said, he was, or queen, jack. It was queen
jack,
high.
sorry.
But remember, it was, he had committed on the raise on the flop. So it was
You'll throw it away then if you're queen
right,
jack
exactly,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
Obviously not paying attention to the player he's playing against.
Button moves over here to C3.
Now it brings me to an interesting point I want to make about how you got the kind of uber respect after a while, and I want to just mention it after this hand.
Raise here by C3, open raise here with ace queen off suit.
He's going to take it down. Interesting thing, a lot of times you see players sit down and they want to bluff right away. I got to tell you, something that I've learned from my own play and from watching the show, and I'd like to suggest it to people as well. Oftentimes before you try to represent and make a big bluff, often you want to show down a big hand.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily show it, but I mean actually have you got called down, you had 2 pair, you were betting all the way, and they go, oh, this guy's got a good hand. So then next time they have a little more respect for you.
And I think I made a little bit of a mistake. You were adjusting, but I wasn't. Your raise sizes, I could see that you were making them a little bit smaller because I was bringing in from my standard 60 to 70, and the game just wasn't playing that big. I wasn't getting any action with my big hands.
I started making him 40, 45, and obviously
50,
you got to adjust to it.
Yeah. It was limped around here, Dave. 3-way action here.
Well, your raise amount, and Jerry's going to bet straight into it with the bottom end of an open-ended straight draw.
That's probably going to get it done.
Well,
now
RJ,
RJ's got open-ended straight draw here as well. He's going to not get involved. And sometimes, if you can see that board, it's queen 7-6. I saw you make this play sometimes once. If you call there with 8-5, there's always a couple things. Let's say if it's a rainbow board, even if there aren't two clubs, I think you can represent 8-9. You can make a big raise on the turn if a 10 comes, or a 5, or if you make it with a 9 or a 4, you're actually using 4 cards on the turn that you can
Definitely.
use.
You got to realize, who knows what your opponent is betting there, too. He could be betting a 7. You might get 2 free cards for just calling there.
Right.
Nothing wrong with obviously laying it down, but another way to play it. Yeah, obviously, sometimes when you're playing a game, the raise size is not necessarily in stone. You've got to realize what you are trying to achieve with your raise. Are you just trying to build a pot? Are you trying to limit the field? Do you want heads up? Do you want it multi-way? What do you want with that raise?
Allen's going to come in for a raise here with king, queen suited. And, well, Rudy's going to call with ace-8 of diamonds. Again, that kind of speculative ace-rag suited cards.
Owen's going to call with an easily dominated hand out of position. And there's the ace.
Well, there's the ace. But, again, you never can play it hard if you're Rudy. If Allen bets here.
Well, Allen just checked it.
Okay. Kind of surprised.
Me too.
I might take a shot there.
He didn't buy himself the button, though, and I guess that's part of the reason he didn't bet.
Rudy's going to bet here. And now you allow someone to actually bluff here, but Allen just probably isn't going to get involved. I would assume he's probably just giving up on the hand.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, if I've got king, queen here, or queen, jack, or something like that, I'm probably going to bet it. I'm going to assume that my opponent's... Although Owen in there as well, you always worry that somebody in early position is looking for that check raise, but you can't play scared.
So we know, I mean, the U.S., it was pitiful. I mean, absolutely. And now the thing is, too, is I was hoping, Ghana actually had a pretty good showing against Italy. It's kind of a good game. And, you know, for some reason, if the U.S. got lucky and those two teams drew, then it would open things up for the U.S. Now, literally, the U.S. is probably going to have to win their next 2 games to advance because they got so blown out that even if they tie Italy and beat Ghana, the U.S. and Italy will have the same points, and Italy would probably win by goal differential.
That's the problem, exactly. You look at it right now.
Yeah.
U.S. is already -3. Italy is already +2 because of their late goal against Ghana.
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible. I mean,
unless they win the next 2 games. Yeah.
Right, and they're not going. I mean, they're not beating Italy. They're not going to beat them.
No, I mean not the team that showed up against Czech Republic this morning. King Queen 6 here on the flop. It was limped around.
Yeah, Jerry with the best hand.
On the button here. Gets checked around to him. He's probably going to throw a little bet in. Look, this Owen is going to bet into 3 players here with Jack 6 from early position. He's actually got Queen 6. He's got bottom 2 pair.
Oh, okay.
Owen's got Queen
Definite
6.
difference, huh?
Yeah. And he's going to take it down.
Yeah, the Queen of Hearts, the Jack, and the 6 of Spades.
They've been talking about it for 5 minutes. You might as well stay now. If they really,
Button moves over to seat number 7.
Rick Nebbiolo's taking a leave it.
You're going to take that seat also?
Well, he's in for 2 minutes and he's out.
Apparently, he doesn't like the game.
Yep, there he goes. But anyway, so I want to get into the England game. Obviously, I would rather be an English supporter now. At least England won, Dave. But they didn't look too good either against Paraguay, I got to say.
Honestly, you know, obviously, I picked England, but after watching the first 3 or 4 days of the World Cup, I got to tell you, they didn't look very good at all.
Yeah.
They didn't look good at all. Michael Owen, he's a stiff. He looks terrible. If Wayne Rooney doesn't come back and play well.
But again,
England's gonna be
they
a lot
almost
of
have a
trouble.
walkover into the second round, though, because of what happened.
Oh, yeah, the guaranteed second round.
Yeah, $25 raise here by Walt with pocket kings. And he's going to get called in 3 spots, so we got a $100 pot going here. 8-10 of spades, 3-4 of hearts, and 5-3 offsuit for Joe over there in seat 1.
Oh, a set of kings.
Yeah, top set here for Walt.
Now, Jerry's got the bottom end of a straight draw. He can catch a 9 or a ace.
Which is almost kind of like an open-ended straight draw. You would lose to ace-10,
Yeah.
He's going to fold, though.
The only problem with this straight is obviously...
So obvious, right?
It's so obvious. And you've got to realize, you know, in this game, you really want to make money. You want things that are hidden. That's where you're going to make money.
And my God, Nidal, somebody shoot me. Good Lord. I thought it was finally over. I TiVoed the game, woke up late on Sunday morning. Federer won the first set really decisively, almost 6-0. He won it 6-1. And then it was just kind of downhill from there. He pulled it back to a tiebreak in the 4th set, but he just couldn't win against that moonballer. And Nadal dirted his way to the
Why
French
can't you
Open.
give the guy a little credit?
until he wins on another surface. Let's see Nadal against Federer at Wimbledon.
He's now beaten Federer 6 out of 7 times. 3 of which were on hard court. I mean, when are you going to give the guy some credit? I mean, I don't even care about tennis. God, what does this guy got to win?
Terry brings it in with ace queen. He's going to take it down.
God forbid I win. So if I win like 4 World Series bracelets, but but it's not the main event. Forget it, Dave. Nothing for you. No respect.
I mean, I always was rooting for Federer because I don't know when the last time it's been since someone actually won the Grand Slam in the same year. I think it might have been Bjorn Borg like 20, 25 years ago. Although I know Bjorn Borg was the last person to actually win the French and Wimbledon in the same year. I mean, it's been not to sound obviously, stereotypical, but for a man to dominate tennis is more difficult than for a female to win the Grand Slams. The competition when Steffi Graf was around just wasn't there, especially when Monica Seles got injured.
Right, although I'll say now I think the competition among women right now is a lot more fierce than it was, say, 15 years ago, where one woman could dominate the landscape for such a long time.
Right.
Now you look at it, there's competition just among the Russian women.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they were talking about the U.S. Tennis was talking about the USTA, talking about changing their training site to a clay site because I think one guy made it to the quarters. I mean, a U.S. on clay is just garbage, with the exception of Andre Agassi, and he's probably going to retire pretty soon, obviously. Yeah, he needed to play the French. Ace 10-4 here with a couple diamonds. Checked around, limped around pre-flop. Checked around, turns a jack.
And I believe seat number 7 now is the best hand here. Seat 8, I'm sorry, jack 9. He's going to throw a little nickel in there. He puts a nickel, literally a nickel, and you know what? Rudy's going to go, you know what, I'm going to call. For that nickel? Sure. Let's see what happens.
Rudy has queen 5, not Allen. He is in the hand.
Right.
And the river here is a 9.
And jack 9 is the best hand here.
He's going to throw a $20 bet out here.
And nobody's going to call this.
Got bottom 2 pair. Or
close enough.
2 pair that's not top 2 pair at this point. And he's going to take it down there. So we're going to have a new player coming into seat 9 in a second.
I mean, I'll tell you, those Russian women, though, Russian tennis players, not only can they play,
they're
hot.
Are you kidding me?
They're all, it's just like
Hornikova, Sharapova, that other chick that made it deep. They're all blonde beauties. The Russian,
they're like 6'9".
Russian women. I mean,
their legs never end.
People always talk about Scandinavian women being the hottest women. I mean, I spent some time in Czech Republic. I spent some time in Austria. Eastern European women. I mean, they've really got something going on.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's like the criteria to become a tennis player in Russia is the first thing is, okay, you've got to be at least 5'10", blonde, and gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can play.
All right. $35 raise here by seat 5. Pocket 9s.
And nobody's going to call.
He's going to take it down.
Right now we've got some sort of if you were to sit down at this table and you're trying to kind of figure out, okay, this is a good table for me. You look at it right now and it seems like the kind of table, it's a pretty passive table. You're not seeing too many multi-way pots. You're not seeing too much bluffing. Everybody's kind of waiting for the hands. And obviously you have to adapt to this table. And I got to tell you, if I'm sitting at a table like this, there's a good chance I'm going to be raising an awful lot in late position.
We've got a post here on 2+2 by BRKAWY7. He says,
how about Breakaway 7?
There you go. Finally, I get to watch the show live. I got my 2-year-old daughter sitting on my lap. Just wanted to say I obviously love your show, and you guys do a fantastic job. I've learned so much from your analyzations. So thanks a lot. And I think that guy actually might have email us a Hanford blog. Again, you can email us and write in the subject Hanford blog will be considered on our weekly video blog that we shoot on Thursdays over at liveatthebike.com.
I want to bet on another $1,000 pot. I want to bet on that. There's no way.
And it was Breakaway 7 that showed it. He actually PM'd me a hand, but you can email us. That's
Two players have top pair here. Seat number 1 and seat number 7, Joe and Owen, both have jacks. Now, Joe's got the best hand here with Jack 10, and he's going to bet 80 into the pot right away.
Jack 7 deuce, couple diamonds on board.
This is a slight raise here from seat number, I want to say seat 6 with the ace high, ace 8.
Now Owen is going to check call with Jack 9 here. Again, not really what you're trying to hit with Jack 9 of clubs.
No, really not.
Heads up between Jack 10 and Jack 9. The turn's king.
And the 10 is still going to play. And I got to tell you, if you're Joe, you put one more bet in here and you take a free showdown. Why not?
He's going to bet 150.
And that's going to take it down, I believe. And it's going to be a nice laydown for Owen. He's a limit background, but he's going to get out of there with Jack 9. River was an ace. And the 10 still would have played.
Now, I know you said you didn't see this game, but one of the most entertaining games I thought throughout the whole weekend was that Trinidad-Tobago Sweden game. And, of course, I
saw a little piece
I
of
have
it.
the CONCACAF love. Trinidad-Tobago, the fourth team out of CONCACAF. They won basically the fourth team played a home and away leg against the third team from Asia, and they beat Bahrain, and they got in. Got a country of 1.3 million. I mean, they were vastly outplayed by Sweden. Sweden had, what a great job of the backup goaltender there who plays for West Ham United, making some great stops. And that guy actually had one shot where he beat the goaltender from Sweden. It went off the crossbar. It could have been 1-0. Now, it could have been 5-0 Sweden as well.
Pocket kings for Jerry here in the big blinds.
Yep.
And it's folding around. Are they going to chop it up?
Looks like it. Jerry says you should probably try for the jackpot. Well, I think RJ could say, I don't have a jackpot hand.
Yeah. Unless he's got an ace. Pocket kings are not exactly. Queen 4, they're not much of a jackpot hand.
Nope. They chop it up. Kind of a tight table here.
Yeah,
so far.
real tight table so far. Very passive. Now, Alan in seat 2 told me he was going to really play it real tight as he kind of enters into the fray again from propping to being a professional poker player. And I got to tell you, I hope he adjusts his game to this table.
You might actually open your game up in this table.
Oh, not even a question. Not even a question. I believe seat 5 has got king, queen, spades. Yeah, he does.
Rudy's going to limp in here with Jack 10 offsuit. Wow, RJ just limps with king, queen suited here. Four-way action. King,
Top pair.
King deuce 7 here. RJ's got top pair. We are missing. There it is. 3-4.
4-3, yeah. Not much of a hand, obviously. And he's going to bet, and he's going to take this down.
I mean, wouldn't you probably raise that almost 100% of the time at this table?
Yeah, I really would. I mean, king, queen, especially at this table.
Yeah. I actually kind of played in a 3-5 game on Wednesday, Dave, after I had a good night in 5-10, donked up about $900. Just kind of wanted to experiment playing like Mike. And RJ, I raised with 10-4 under the gun. And RJ called me in the blind with queen 10. The flop came queen 10-10. And all the money went in.
Yeah, I don't... It's funny. I don't think Mike's style works in that small game.
Yeah, I think I figured that out.
The fear of losing a lot of money
Yeah.
is not in there.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why Mike's style doesn't really work against... If he was playing against 8 guys who were all short stacked, his style wouldn't work either.
Pocket queens here over here for Jerry on the button.
An ace, queen of hearts here for seat number 8.
20 in the big blind. Jerry makes it 20. And let's see what.
Now, how would you play this with a
Ross
button
Jam's gonna
raise? He's going to re-raise.
Well, and again, when you're not that deep stacked in this game, queens might even be. I mean, in a bigger game, in 5-10 game with a good player, they probably know you're not necessarily raising. I mean, he is re-raising a button raiser, and Jerry is going to call here. And sometimes
It's a
people
big
will do
raise,
that.
though.
Ace queen. Yeah.
I mean, he makes it 20. You make it 120?
Jerry's going to call.
I mean, are you going to get called by a hand that you can beat?
So Rostium's got ace queen of hearts here, and we're heads up against queens. And this pot is quickly over $250. Wow, look at that.
Oh.
Ace queen. All the money might go in here.
Well, of course.
He's going to move in right away in a call. And Rostium is drawing to running hearts here. He's got a 4% chance to win.
Running aces as well could do it, but that's not going to happen.
You're lucky, yeah. Woo! You're lucky. Woo! Take it down, Charlie Brown! Woo, 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 woo!
And again, that might actually be another way, even in a short stack game, if Jerry's got kings or aces there, and you raise on the button, and that guy re-raises, and it's a $250 pot, and you know if you just call, he only has 180 left, he is forced to move all in pretty much with any flop. There's no purpose to re-raise, right? On the button.
Oh, definitely.
Unless you might think that, I mean, maybe another way of thinking is if he's doing it with tens or jacks, and then something scares him on the flop, and then he just check folds.
Yeah, I mean,
Whereas he would call an all-in.
in this
pre-flop with
game,
that
it's
hand.
always hard because you're so short stacked. By the time you find out what your opponent might have, you're usually pot committed.
Yeah. Until you get deeper stack, which obviously can happen in this
Of
game.
course, right. We got Ace King in Allen, seat number 2, and I'm assuming he's going to raise it up. Now, you talk about tennis. I was just curious. The U.S. landscape of tennis is actually pretty sad right now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's really no standout players, except, unless you count Andy Roddick as a player, but he can't win except it's on hard court.
Well, he's obviously, I mean, Federer really dominates the landscape of men's tennis now. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, but Roddick is nothing special.
No, I mean, I think he's something special. I think that Federer is better. It's almost like being, I'm trying to equate being like Pete Sampras's bitch when he was so dominant from a different country.
Yeah. You just look at the way he plays here. Now, the raise here, $25 raise from Allen, call from Owen. Owen is called the King Jack.
I'm buying for 1,000. I want to know if I'm allowed to or not.
As long as nobody objects. Well, somebody has to object, though. Right?
I think,
Seat number 8 wants to buy in for 1,000.
right.
Anybody object to him going for 1,000?
And I guess if all the players don't object, we won't say
No,
anything.
it's no
right?
problem at all. Hey,
Uh,
if everybody at the table wants to play it and everybody allows it, what's wrong with it? Why not? Hey, if everybody wants to allow it, I have no problem with it. Do you?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't really at the table either. I mean, this game. It would be better to get deeper at this table.
Exactly.
I mean, what I might say actually is, yeah, you can buy in for 1,000 if I can cover you.
Right.
You know.
Only if I can buy it for 1,000 too.
yeah.
I don't understand if it's like such a big deal.
Now Joe decided not to call here. Three players in there already for $25. You don't want to throw in $25 in pocket threes. Now he didn't hit it, but I got to tell you, I'm probably calling there with $500 deep. Now heads up, I might not call, but there's 3 players in there. The likelihood that if I hit my set and hit somebody else are more.
Now, Allen here, he's going to bet on this ragged flop. And sometimes I'll check this, but against those 2 opponents, I think I can bet once and know exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree.
Harold and...
Hey, you wouldn't put a 5 in anybody's hand in a raised pot, theoretically. If somebody's got big spades, you'll know about it really quick.
Remember, again, those 2 guys are probably limit players in seat 7 and seat 9. So, they might not necessarily know enough to call with, middle suited connectors and such like that.
Right. The only problem with Owen, sometimes Owen takes one off with a hand like King Jack or Ace Jack. But it's hard to know where you're at. That's hysterical. I just saw a post from Bugelmouth on 2+2. He goes, heck. Here it is. Heck, when Navratilova was playing, a man dominated women's tennis. That's funny.
Joe is going to raise it up here with Queen Jack of Hearts. He gets called in 3 spots, so it's an $80 pot here. Ace Queen 3, and Joe has the best hand.
Yeah, and if it checks around to him, well, he checked it.
Actually, he was in the big blind. I think
Wow.
he had a raise, and Harold's hit a set of 7s.
Yep.
Harold has hit a set of 7s.
And I got to tell you, if I'm Harold, I'd probably bet the flop when it checks to me. But hey. Actually, Harold is in first position. And he's going to bet right into it now. And Joe is probably not going to get involved here. I got to tell you, it's too likely that Harold was checking his ace to check raise. Planning to check raise in the flop. A lot of players like to do that check raise. And I got to tell you, at this point, I don't put him obviously a set of 7s, but I can easily put him on an ace.
And Harold bet, and Joe is going to raise it up. He's going to min-raise right here.
I got to tell you, I don't like the play, and I was just saying why. It's just too likely that Harold was doing this with, say, an ace.
Now,
Ace
I
10,
assume,
Ace 9, whatever it is.
assume if Harold calls here, Joe is going to check behind here in a showdown if he does not improve. Oh, that's the worst card Joe could see.
It definitely is. Now, Harold actually has full house here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the worst card. I was thinking, and look at this. Harold's going to move in. Wow, and look at Joe.
I won't waste time. I call.
And look at this. Joe calls. I was saying that Joe probably raised there to take a showdown on the river unless he improved, and all of a sudden he improved, and then Harold bet right in. I was also thinking, that Harold might have been just playing it against Joe. Maybe think that Joe had aces or queens. Although Joe is not the pre-flop raiser, I couldn't quite tell who the pre-flop raiser was.
Right.
We had the action a little bit backwards there.
Not much you can do. I even give Joe credit there, though. At least he realized when the gentleman bet right into him, he realized there's a good chance he might be behind here.
Well, that's a little bit different. If Joe is not the pre-flop raiser and he just calls out of the blind and I bet out with sevens and he now raises me, I know I probably have the best hand. Now, if he was the pre-flop raiser and maybe he checked the flop and now I bet and now he raises, you might actually almost have to check call, shut down, put him on a set, high set or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Joe on it, though.
Yeah, Joe usually bets his hand.
He's a pretty solid player.
Yeah.
Rarely do you see a very good player raise pre-flop with a pocket pair, hit his set, and then not bet it.
And I would, in a set of queens, I'd probably put the possibility of him checking a set of queens with an ace on the board there about 0%.
Of course,
There's
there's two
no way.
Broadway cards out there.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. No way.
And that's what you want to hit. You want your ace to come
course.
with your set of queens there. Limped around here. Four-way action. 10, 8, 8 here. A couple people have 10s. Jerry's got the best hand here with ace 10.
30. I wasn't lying, was I?
Jerry's going to bet 30 and a quick call here by Owen.
I wasn't lying. The second best full house you can get.
And again,
My hand.
over-dominated hand here. The turn's a queen and it's a third club. It might slow some of the action down. Jerry checks, and Owen checks right behind him. The river is a 7, and this still might go check, and the ace-10 is going to win it. And that's exactly what happens.
Now, it's funny. I'm reading this post for a breakaway 7, obviously. He says, I'm going to throw this up for all the 2+2ers. I'm sure nobody really cares, but my friend from here in St. Louis visited L.A. this past week, and then he played on Live at the Bike, and he actually busted Mike.
Yeah, I think
Corporation Mike.
that must have been Lee, right?
Seat number 2.
Oh, seat 2.
It was seat 2, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Chuck
Yeah.
was his name.
Yeah.
And Chuck, a pretty solid player there. Good to see it. And obviously, anybody familiar with the show, and I know Breakaway 7 is, once in a while, obviously, Bart and I like to go on tangents, I like to say.
Yeah.
Did you see Big Ben in Pittsburgh?
I did. I saw that. My goodness.
Rode his motorcycle right into somebody's car?
Yeah. Without a helmet, too. Wow. Pocket kings over here for Owen. Going to raise it up to 25. Seat number 9's going to call with deuces.
Well, he's deep enough. He can't. Well, actually, but Owen's not.
Yeah,
That's the
Owen's
problem.
probably not deep enough for Harold to make this call. And Alan, look at this. Alan folds ace-jack suited out of the blind. Easily. Ace-7-3 here. I mean, it's a $25 raise. I might call there just because I think I might be able to outplay these guys.
Yeah, but you're out of position. I got to tell you, some of the danger in a game like this is that good players try to outplay these players too much.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that how bad ace-jack is. Unless you're flopping hearts,
Right.
you hit an ace. What do you do then?
Now,
Out of
and
position.
Owen bets out there with the ace on board and takes it down. And again, you can email us at live@thebike.com. I just tested it. It is working. Breakaway. You can send us your hands for consideration on the video blog. I assume everybody watched the new video blog that was up there.
A homework assignment? I assume you did. I assume you read chapters 4 through 7 for today.
I think we got another chip count coming up. Here it is. First one of the night.
5,500. Well, it's another one. We had one Friday.
That's right.
Walt and Roston with $1,000. Owen with $315. Let's see how they're doing. Cha-ching. Yeah, Walt's up 500. Now, Rostam's actually down 500, but he's bought in for 1,000. We're letting him buy in for more. The table is okay with that. Harold up a quick 300. Alan up 50. The rest of the table is all down. I'd only imagine, I guess, Rick Nebbiolo left with some profit.
Ace deuce 9 here was limped around. We got a diamond draw here for Harold. Now Jerry's going to come out and he's going to bet with king 9 here. He's got the best hand, and Harold's going to make the smooth call here with diamonds. Now if you're Jerry and you get called here, do you fire again? You put Harold on diamonds. The turn is a 5, or do you put him on a weak ace? And now Jerry checks, and Harold is not going to take the card. It looks like he's going to bet the diamond draw.
Well, he should. Maybe if your opponent does have a 9, you can get him off it, and I think this is going to work.
Okay, the turn was a 5 of clubs.
Obviously, the weakness of playing a hand like king 9 of clubs in kind of earliest position. It's not a hand that I really want to get involved with.
I know you're a limit player. I just came here with all those meaning
And he's bet, like you said, about $90 here.
Yeah,
And Jerry looks confused. He says, "You're a limit player. I just can't put you on a hand." And Harold takes it down there.
No, ask me for my phone number.
But he's going to move over here to seat 3. Walt.
Not that kind of generous.
once again, we're live at the bike. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hansen.
Is that correct?
We're playing No Limit Hold'em. Blinds are 5 and 5. This is a 300 to 500 restricted buying game, but I guess it's been extended, so now it's like a 300 to 1,000.
Well, I don't know if they're going to let anybody buy in. I mean, again, if
What are they going to let one person not let somebody else?
But if one person objects, then, supposedly.
Hit an email from Dan here about tipping dealers, and it's really a personal thing. We don't like to tell you what to do. Like anything, obviously, the dealers here, they rely on tips to make a living. Know that, and then it's really up to you. However you're comfortable.
Sheila scrambling the cards here off of the setup. Some people don't know there's actually a room right next door to us, Dave, where they actually hand set up all of the cards. So they check them by eye because, obviously sometimes people are prone to making mistakes. Of course. Once the cards are taken off the table, they will redo the setup in the back and then bring them out. And I don't know how many times cards are used before they destroy them or shred them, but
I would assume until they're no good.
A couple months maybe?
Well, it depends. I mean, it could be one day if Corporation Mike's at the table.
Right.
She didn't die in a place. She died in her own.
Well, then sometimes they do have loose cards because they might have one bad card that they will fill in.
Exactly,
In a deck.
It's kind of like, remember your waiting tables, when they catch up, you just refill the catch-ups. Same thing.
Rostam's going to bring this one in for a raise. We need to see his cards in seat 8. He makes it 45 to go. Now, pocket 9's here for seat 4. Rostam's got kings. And Eric is not going to get involved with 9's there.
Now, it's not necessarily a bad late end. I'm going to throw this at you. With pocket 9's, okay, you've got to realize, is that much better than, say, 6s or 5s or 4s when your head's up out of position?
Yeah.
Maybe you're just playing it for the set, and if the flop comes out 7 high, do you want to go broke with a hand as weak as 9's?
And again, sometimes that raise size smells like jacks or 10s, in which case you're behind anyways.
It doesn't make a difference. And it's awfully hard to play that hand. Let's say the flop comes out Queen 7-3. Well, what do? If you're just playing it for the set, you probably aren't getting enough money. You don't have enough money to make that call.
Pocket 6's here. And pocket 5's for Walt. So 6's for Alan. He limps. Walt limps in with 5s. And we're going to see this 4 ways limped around.
Probably.
Well, 10-7-9 here. Harold is not in the hand. He would have flopped a nut straight.
Bet flat.
30. Jerry's going to come out and bet here with King 8. And RJ actually has the best hand right now with Queen 9.
Yeah, I like the bet by Jerry. I really do. It's a rainbow board. Why not bet your straight draw? He's open-ended. It's really tough for anybody to call. Even with a 10, let's say somebody has Queen 10 here. Now, RJ calls. No, RJ didn't call. With a hand even like Queen 10, it really is a difficult call. So I got to tell you, I know you and I obviously have put in for our time for the World Series, and it's been approved, and I'm so excited about it. So I'm finally going to be able to go online, buy my airline tickets, book everything. And when it gets all finalized, I think you and I will let everybody know what tournaments we're going to be playing in, so they can follow
we got
us.
some, like I said, the adult poker party. We're splitting booth with them, and it's going to be some exciting stuff. I heard some rumors about how we're going to kind of shoot a commercial here right before the World Series. I actually might forego my first tournament to help shoot that commercial here.
Yeah, you're really
I'm a trooper.
You are. You're really sacrificing yourself for that.
4-way action here, limped around. Nice flop here for Eric. Ace-7 of clubs, top pair, nut club draw.
Oftentimes when you flop the nut, like this kind of hand, you have top pair with the nut flush draw. If you get any heat from anybody, you've got to realize you are behind. Somebody else has an ace.
Yeah, a lot of people overvalue this hand. Now Walt checks.
I would rather have second pair with the nut flush draw.
Now, if I'm Walt, I'm actually probably pretty comfortable calling here. I don't necessarily put Eric on a higher kicker than me. It seems like it's a little pot control bet here. Eric probably would have raised with something better than ace-jack. Now, the river's a 4, and
they're
going to
chop
get
it,
chopped up.
Both players have aces and 4s, the queen kicker, and they're going to chop it up.
Yeah. a lot of, like I said, people overvalue that hand because of the fact, that might actually not be a hand that you go to war with. It's much different if you have second pair and a club draw, because at least your trips and your kicker are live. Neither one here, well, I mean, the kicker is live, but obviously the trips are not.
Right, which is one of the reasons why you'd rather have, let's say the flop was king 9-4 with 2 clubs,
right,
and you have ace 9 of clubs. Well, there, an ace is good, a 9 is probably good, and a club is obviously good.
Right.
And in that case, you have an additional, I want to say an additional 2 outs. Going from 12 outs to 14 outs, obviously, is pretty big on the flop. Now, if you're playing against a good player, and you don't think they'll go to a war with a hand like ace-queen or ace-king, you can put some heat on them, though.
Well, it's also somewhat more disguised against more amateurish competition or people that play recreationally. When you hit your second pair trips or your second pair kicker, sometimes they can't work it through that you actually might have had a club draw with a pair, and they might end up paying you off the whole way with top pair.
It's one of the times where the card you're really looking for there is the 7, not the club.
Right.
That's what you're going to get paid on.
4-way action here, limped around. Jack 10-7. Limped around. Checked around, turns a 6. And it looks like Jerry now. Does he get the best hand? Seed 8 is going to come out and bet here. Rostam. Well, he's got a pair of 10s. He's got the best hand. He's going to take it. Takes a shot at it on the turn. Takes it down.
Now, I'm just curious. If you were sitting in that game, Bart, now you know most of these guys, and you asked to buy in for 1,000, you think they'd let you?
Of course I understand.
You kind of wonder.
Well, I wouldn't actually, I said that, if Rostam said, can I buy in for 1,000? I might actually not start the trend and say, yeah, you can only if I can buy in, because that might not allow him to, because then somebody else might object. I might just sit there and allow it and just work my stack up. Because if I say, yeah, you can if I can, then I think someone's going to object, because now maybe a couple other people will as well, and now the game is totally turned into a higher game.
Completely different game, yeah. Post here from Zelos, he says, does the casino have a separate board for live at the bike and for the normal game at the same stakes? And yes, we do. And depending on the night, obviously, depends on how long the list is.
3-way action here, limped around. 4-way action, limped around. King, queen, 4 here with a couple hearts. RJ's got the best hand. Again, with Jerry and Rostam to the left of me towards the button, I probably raise that up 75% of the time. I know you probably do as well, right?
In this game, specifically this game, yes.
This game is very, very passive. Right. There's the live at the bike 300 to 500 board.
And if you look up the top a little bit higher than that, there is the 3 to 5 up there.
Yeah, and then we've got 2 500 games. We've been getting a lot of 500 games today. We had 3 500 games earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, it's odd. It used to be that our casino was dominated by $100 and $200 games, and we would only have a couple of 3 to 5 or a couple of 500s. Now, it seems like there's only a couple of smaller games and a lot of the bigger ones.
I think the 5-10 game, like I said, is the best game in town. There aren't a lot of casinos that allow you to buy an uncapped at 5-10 blind levels. And there's a big jump, like at the other casino, from the 5-10 400 max game to the 600 min 10-20 no limit uncapped game.
Definitely.
I mean, there's no in between there at all.
You're talking about recreational players looking at a good time to suddenly you're playing against some sharks and professional players.
Got a raise here, an open raise here. Looked like by seat 4 with pocket 3s. He's going to get called in 3 spots. Yep. So it's an $80 pot there.
Oh, it's a decent flop for Joe. Well, not that good, actually.
Well, he's up front. He called in the blind, 7-8 offsuit.
Now, for a second, I thought he was open-ended also.
Now, we've been kissing Joe's ass a lot lately on the show. He's been doing really well. Turns a 5. Let's see if he's going to bet in now. The only thing I have to maybe throw out about Joe is I think sometimes he does play a little bit of speculative hands, like from this spot, out of position. Like we saw him play 3-5 offsuit for like a $25 raise.
The only thing is, at this table, you can call out a position because the play is so passive. Look, nobody took a shot at it.
Yeah.
The 3s didn't, the ace-jack didn't, and the ace-queen in position. None of them took it.
So you almost know your hand's good if it gets checked around the flop and you have a piece of the flop.
Yeah, now Joe actually would have made trips on the river. He was already good, but that obviously solidified it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where the players in this game are not taking advantage of their position.
We're just incidental. Oh, and by the way, the set over set just happened, but let's continue to talk about it. It's a junior mints.
Button moves over here to seat number 9.
I'm a little confused. Wait a second.
I hear that quite refreshing. That's the line in Seinfeld.
Do you follow the Stanley Cup at all?
Very funny.
You know nothing.
Yeah,
I thought Edmonton was the 8th seed. I just saw this little post from Breakaway 7 saying the Canes, the first 8 seed to make it this far in such a long time. I thought Edmonton was the 8th seed.
Got a raise here by to $50. You know, I asked you about it because I said, what a great weekend for sports. And I was like, you've been watching the Stanley Cup? And you're like, no, I don't have OLN. And the hockey is just really, like I said, it used to be the Big Four. Now hockey is just in the pits. And I say, you know, there's still guys with multi-million-dollar salaries.
Oh, they make tons of money. I mean, they still sell out.
Is that going to go down, though? I mean, the games do sell out, but, I mean, you know.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, but in professional sports, it's a TV contract that usually
But it's never been a
dictates.
TV for hockey.
No.
They've never had a TV contract.
Yeah.
They've never made money from TV. It's always from they're always from the gates.
Whereas in
hockey is-
football, like the majority of the money
Gary
is TV.
Bettman, when we brought Gary Bettman over to the NHL from the NBA, everybody thought, oh, wow, now we've got a commissioner who can really bring us into, prominence. Gary Bettman might be the biggest tool out there. He's a complete moron. There's no idea what to do. We've had nothing but problems, and we've gone from, like, the 4th sport in the United States to maybe the 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Raise here with
Don't
ace,
get me started on
ace
Gary
jack
Bettman. Oh,
clubs here by
God.
Jerry. He's going to take it down. But the funny thing, too, is you look at hockey, and it might have almost been diluted. I mean, I'm still almost amazed at, the 3 or 4 teams in Florida, team in Carolina. I mean, obviously hockey's big in the Northeast and some of the cold states like in
Right.
Minnesota and stuff.
But those teams do well. I mean, Carolina, they sell out their stadium.
Yeah.
You're talking 18,000, 19,000 people a night at, $75, $100 a pop.
Even regular season and stuff?
Oh, tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
Hockey tickets are not cheap.
Well, hockey really is the best game to actually best sport to go to live. That, and I think baseball, too.
Great.
I mean, football is really a TV sport.
Although I'll tell you, soccer. Soccer's a great game live as well.
Jerry's got ace-jack suited again. He's going to race to 35.
Now, keep in mind, people, when we're watching this, oftentimes we see somebody raise and we can look at everybody else's hands, which is why sometimes we go into a different conversation because we know it's going to be chopped around.
Right.
Like in this case, I knew nobody was going to call the raise.
Right.
Don't feel like you're missing any poker.
Sometimes when I go to a pro football game, it's the atmosphere of tailgating and going with a bunch of buddies. If you were to say, oh, I'm just going to go to the game and sit in the end zone without tailgating, it's not, you'd almost rather watch it and just sit on TV and watch it, right?
Football's probably,
It's a social event.
It's probably better watched on TV
than
it is at the stadium. But yeah, like you said, the social event of going to the game and tailgating and drinking and having a good time, you can't miss that. It's great. The camaraderie with your friends.
Ace-queen here for Owen. He's going to make it 15, and look at seat 8. He's got kings.
Yep. And ace-queen in seat 1. Joe's got the ace-queen.
And just a smooth call here. And I got to tell you, Joe actually might re-raise this at this table. I think Rostam is playing it a little slow, and he is going to re-raise. I was going to say it's probably an easy laydown for Joe once Rostam re-raises, but now
how much does Joe have left? I only think Joe's got about 120 left. I'm trying to get a check.
And look at this. Owen calls, and Rostam pulls the call, limp, re-raise all in.
And at this point,
no, he's got
Joe
white
pot
chips
committed?
there.
No,
Look,
he
he's
does.
got
Okay.
white chips there.
I wasn't sure.
He easily gets rid of it.
Well, if he's got white chips, yeah, it's an easy fold. And obviously, now, is Owen pot committed?
He's got about 150, and he gets away from it.
He throws it away. I got to tell you, with 150 left, I'd probably call with ace-queen there. Because at that point, the pot is
75, 75, 75, 225 plus the all-in, 375, about 150 to call. You're getting over 2 to 1, right?
I'm getting like 2.5 to 1, and I figure I got 3 outs. Either the ace is good or the queen is good.
Yeah.
Unless this guy's got aces, specifically aces. I've got 3 outs one way, and I'm not a 2.5 to 1 dog, am I? Well, maybe I should lay it down, actually, the more I think about it. Obviously, the show is live, unedited, unscripted. One of the reasons why, while at the table, you never want to make a rash decision. Try to think through your decisions.
A couple people say Edmonton was the 8th seed. Canes are the 2nd
That's
seed.
what I thought, okay.
And Breakaway 7 says, during the series, what are we going to say? No life without Live with the Bike? Well, we will be running some sort of best of loop.
No, we're going to be here. What are you talking about?
No, during that main event.
Oh, during the main event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave and I are actually alternating going to tournaments, and we will continue to do Live with the Bike during the preliminary event of the series, just with one of us here. And that might give us a chance to bring some other people into the booth and such.
No, I haven't been back for a while.
Button moves over here to seat 5.
I've got a few guest commentators already lined up for while you're in the series.
Can I get your wife in here when you're in the series?
No.
Guest commentary? No.
No.
Look at notice another pocket kings and ace king here. Now, Rostam has limped in with ace king, and Joe's got kings. Now, is Rostam going to pull the limp re-raise again, thinking he's playing ace king slow? But Joe's got a real hand this time. Unbelievable. And if Owen calls, Rostam might think there's enough dead money to again limp re-raise here. But he's just going to call.
31.
And again, we talk about how ace king has really no hidden value here, Dave.
No, it really
the
doesn't.
The worst thing for Rostam is if the case king came out.
Well, there's the ace. Oh, two pair for Owen.
Owen's got bottom two pair here.
And Joe went from first place to last place really quick.
And Owen looks like he's going to bet right in here.
Oh, I love the bet. And look at that. It's a raise right away.
Easy fold for Joe, and Owen's in great shape.
17 miles.
And Owen's in very good shape here, obviously. There's only one king left.
You drive through, there's like 4 buildings, and then you're out of the town. No, like
Now he needs to dodge a 6 here as well.
Yeah, 6 a king and a ace. That's not going to happen.
River's a jack.
And Owen doubles through.
One thing for Owen, man, he really does bet these good hands normally when he picks them up.
I love it. It's a great bet. Great bet. I mean, if the flop had come out, say, Jack 7-5, and he bets right in, well, Ace King probably lays it down, but the king, who's Joe in seat 1,
Probably moves
raises.
him in. Probably moves him in.
Exactly. Obviously, an easy flop for Joe to get away from.
Which, again, is probably the proper play in this game with kings, to move that guy in, because he could probably call with queen, jack, or something like that. If he only has 150 left. Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com. Questions, comments, suggestions.
And we're still trying to figure out ways to, obviously, while we're at the series, to try to keep in touch with Live at the Bike. I know I'll be doing my blog, Under the Gun, with David Tuckman.
I
And
was
if
reading your
anybody's
blogs, the last blog you put up was in May 31st. What's going on?
What about your blog? How's your blog doing?
I never claimed to have a blog.
Oh,
on the
okay.
website.
There you go.
I was actually the creator of the video blog. I don't think that went well.
The creator? Yeah. Really? Wow.
That's my blog.
I see. Okay.
That's how it's
okay.
going.
I see. I have no part in that at all. Okay. So when's your next video blog going up?
Friday.
Friday. Okay. Cool.
Ace, Queen, 7 here.
I'm busy Thursday, so you're gonna do that one by yourself? Okay.
Checked around here. Alan did not take a stab at it with Queen, Jack.
How about 2 pair for Jerry here?
And now Alan bets 15 here. He checked the flop, and Jerry's got 2 pair.
And he's gonna raise it up like he should. Not raising enough there. I probably raise it more than that. You got to realize bottom 2 pair is definitely vulnerable here.
Alan calls. River's a 5, and now you probably put another value bet in here. If
Oh,
you're
you
Jerry.
definitely do.
And you got to really start thinking, if you're Alan, what would this guy bet at the river? I think I'm beat here, because we talk about how usually predictable players are not going to bet the river here with a weak ace.
No, you've got to put Jerry on 2 pair. Probably something like Queen Deuce or something like
Although
that.
if you keep that board up there, we've seen Jonas play in such a manner where, say the flop comes out Ace, Queen, 7, and you limped in with a suited Ace 4 on the button. Got checked around to you on the button, and you check. Now there's a bet on the turn. You might call, and then when it's checked to you on the river, you might bet your ace for value.
Yeah. You definitely would. Obviously,
Yeah.
the better players will bet their real marginal hands for value.
And again, that's why, I asked Mike about that hand against Barry Woods when Barry Woods flopped a Jack 10 straight. Why Mike called the river was because the Jack really screwed with him, because he figured Barry would not bet an overpair or 2 pair on the river with a one-liner to a straight out there. He thought he was betting on a busted flush draw, and he was trying to use the Jack as a scare card, as a bluff. Little did you know that Barry had the 10, but that's why Mike called. If it was some other card that didn't come on the river, Mike wouldn't have called. That's what he said.
Yeah, the funny thing is that Mike called really quick. I think he thought through the whole hand. And if you're not sure what we're talking about, you can check out the archives.
Yeah.
It was Friday's show. Real exciting night.
Walt is raced up here with ace king. He gets a few callers, and Rostam's got trip 8s. He checks it this time. No one's got a queen. And this one's probably going to get checked around. It does.
Yeah, well, we've seen Owen does not fire at it unless he has it.
Wow, now the turn's a queen, and Rostam checks again.
Well, at this point, you've got to know you're good still.
And the river's a queen.
Well, and the board is going to play.
And the board is going to play.
And who's going to bet it?
And
Well,
now Rostam throws a $100 bet out here.
And look, he's going to get one person out. How many people is he going to get out? Obviously, it's a chop pot. And whoever he can get the fold, it's less chop.
110.
I don't think you have, if you're Walt, I don't think you have to worry about Owen behind you.
Would you
think
ever
Owen would have
raise?
bet at some point.
If you're Walt here, would you ever raise? I'm all in.
He's going to call. And they're going to chop it up. And Owen folded.
I God, you goddamn it.
Came up to queen.
Well, learn how to bet when you got the best hand. You bet when you didn't have the best hand. You bet earlier, I folded.
Walt giving him free
I think
lessons.
Rostam just really likes to be tricky. He's one of those guys, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And again, we talk about tricky play, usually not the best way to play it, no limit hold'em.
You know, it's funny. I called
Especially
you
in this
from the
game.
road today while you were
Yeah.
playing, asked you how the game was, and you said it was not great. And when I got here, I thought the game was fabulous. I mean, it's not a game you were going to make $2,000 in, but it didn't seem like it was very high risk.
No, and we both really did good. Yeah.
How about the river?
Of course, jackpots help, Dave.
Yeah, I
just-
did well without the
I mean,
jackpot,
it's
okay?
funny, I didn't think the game was that good, but I got called by a couple people who, they might not be the best players. We were talking about Tony works here as a host, but people that don't necessarily give money away. And some of these guys just gave their money to me today.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how.
It was odd. I kept looking over
Yeah.
there. And every single time you had two pair, and the other guy couldn't beat you two pair.
Right.
Well, what are they calling you with?
Four-way action here. Ace deuce 10 here. Ace 10 for Owen. Same hand he had last time. He's got top two pair, and he's going to bet it. He bets 15. I don't know if anybody can call here. If Joe checked the flop, he's probably not going to call right here, Dave. He does not. Notice how, as opposed to betting out, he does not make the check call with Jack 10 second pair there.
Interesting email here from Jared Pondelik. He says, "Hey, Dave and Bart, thought this might be an interesting bit of information you might have not read. In Forbes magazine, it talked about the 25 best and worst paying jobs that are available right now. One of the worst paying jobs on the list, according to Forbes, was actually being a card dealer. Makes him want to tip them a
I don't
little
know. That
better
doesn't
now.
make a lot of sense. You mean worst paying jobs out there ever? Yeah, they're paid minimum wage.
Well,
Well, tips. What about jobs
jobs
that
that are
are minimum
available.
wage without tips?
Well, it said 25 best and worst paying jobs that are available right now. Who knows?
I mean, I think the dealers, they make it. Wow, look at this pocket kings again for Joe. Small blind. Ace queen here for Harold on the button.
Harold's
And
going to call.
just going to limp with ace queen. And Joe checks the kings out of the blind. Well, I guess he's trying to, maybe try to win a big pot. We've had this discussion before. Not a great flop for a limped kings. Let's see
No,
how he's
not
going
at
to
all.
play it.
He's got the best hand here.
Now, we had this argument before, I think you might actually lose a little value by not raising at this table with kings. I assume that if Joe was get raised here at any time, he would fold. I mean,
course.
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
You got to realize at a table like this, and I agree with you, I don't like to play at this
Yeah.
table. At a table like this where nobody is going to be bluffing, you're not going to induce a bluff in this game. I just don't see. I don't see the value of playing it tricky. Nobody's going to give you action unless they've got a real hand.
Nice words here from Steve in Houston, first time poster on 2+2. Tracer said, I played professionally online. The insight you have to share has increased my ROI approximately 15%.
Nice ROI.
Usually-
Return on investment?
Yeah. ROI is usually something that people talk about when usually I hear about it in sit-and goes.
Queens.
Yep.
Seat number 7, Owen. King Jack in seat number 9.
Nines for seat 5, King Jack suited for
Got some
Joe
real
on the
hands
button.
here.
And seat 5's going to come in for a raise here with nines. And Jerry calls with ace 8 of clubs. Owen just calls with queens. That brings seat 8 in. Joe's probably going to call. And King Jack of clubs for Alan. Is he going to call? This small blind?
If you're Joe in seat 1, you got 4, 6 of diamonds. Why not call?
Harold does not have kings. He's
Look
got
at Alan.
King Jack of hearts.
Alan's got King Jack of clubs.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Joe's got 4, 6 of diamonds in seat 1. And this is a lot of hands here.
Yeah, we have
Pocket
8 ways.
eights for Walter.
This is 8 ways.
Wow.
Okay, what are we looking for here?
And Owen's got the best hand here with queens. He did not re-raise it. Now, RJ's the pre-flop raiser.
Ace, Queen, 10 of clubs.
8-way action here, $270 pot. 7-4 deuce. Well,
Well, we got a lot of overpairs.
nines and queens both have overpairs here.
8s as well.
Yeah, and Walt with 8s. And Rostam is flopped a set of 4s in seat 8.
Well, I figured somebody had to flop something here.
RJ's going to bet. He bets 210, and he's not going to. And look at this. Owen Owen makes the all-in, and now Rostam pushes. A bet by nines, an all-in by queens. Rostam pushes with fours. This is easily going to get Walt out of the hand. Unbelievable. And this pot is going to be close to $1,000. And now it's back over to RJ. I think it's an easy laydown for him.
Easy. Screaming easy
Because
laydown.
Rostam has pushed Owen. He's pushed over the top of Owen.
How much more does RJ have?
RJ's got about, looks like 300 left.
Yeah, it's an easy laydown. $1,000 pot, 300 to call. I think at this point you're only getting 3.5 to 1. You got to realize you're drawing to you need specifically a 9. Now you have the 9 of spades in your hand, so 9 of clubs or 9 of hearts is probably good.
Especially when Owen puts all. I mean, what do you think Owen's going to push there with A7? I just don't buy it.
No, I
think
don't buy it
RJ
either.
needs to identify again. He is getting
And
3.5 to 1.
Obviously, Owen learning here. He's a limit hold'em player. He let all those players in with pocket queens, and I got to tell you, if you're going to play it 8 ways with pocket queens, if I don't hit my set, I'm done.
Well, I mean, there's a couple sides to that. Remember, Owen is playing on the short stack, and RJ, he's going to make the call, but
Wow.
he is real surprised.
And
about
we've
that.
got about a $1,300 pot here.
Yeah.
Actually, more than that.
Turns a jack. Rostam needs to dodge a couple cards, and he dodges them.
I got a set.
Yeah, and if you're Rostam, you.
And RJ's in third place here.
Funny, Owen actually turned the queens over as if they might be good. I mean, you got to hate the 5 of spades in the river, even if you're Rostam, don't you?
Well, if I'm Owen and I play push there with queens and Rostam moves all in, once RJ calls, I think I'm beat. I think I'm probably in third place. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that RJ would overcall with a
especially-
hand that I don't have beat.
Especially when the spade comes in the river.
Oh, man. But,
Maybe somebody's got ace jack of spades
it's a
or
little,
something.
it's a tricky little thing playing the short stack. We talk about what the proper play is playing short stack. If you don't re-raise with queens there, and now 8 people are in, and then you've got an overpair, I mean, do you push there on the short stack? It's real tough. I mean, you got a bet by the original pre-flop raiser. Now you push all in. Now, RJ made a big pot-sized bet right in front of you. Now you've got 7 people behind you. RJ could still have you beat. He plays pretty tight with a higher overpair.
You're talking about the queens.
I'm saying if you play queens that way on the short stack, and you've got a very solid player who's raised at pre-flop and bets into 8 players, pot-sized bet, do you push there with queens with 7 people behind you? That's why probably on the short stack you probably re-raise with queens pre-flop as a proper play.
I
It's
got to
really
tell you,
tough. It's
if
just-
I play it the way Owen played it there, and I have 8 people seeing the flop,
Yeah.
I am out of the hand
Really?
easily, unless I hit a set. Yes.
Now
8
Alan's got
people on the
aces.
anybody could have anything.
Alan's got aces here.
I mean, it's basically a limp round pot. You've got to realize
Yeah.
that.
And look at this, Walt's got 10s. And he just smooth calls and 6, 7 of spades here for Jerry. A lot of big hands here. Oh, King 3-5, pretty good flop here for Alan. This probably should go check around to the button and a bet by Alan.
Yeah. Now Jerry he has a gut shot. He can catch a 4 to win this pot.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Walt is going to check raise Alan all in, but Alan doesn't have anything left. I mean, Walt's got to realize that there's no fold equity against a king here, right?
Well, what happens if Alan's got ace queen? I got to tell you, Alan bet somewhat weak on the flop.
Yeah.
And I think Walt thought Alan had ace jack, ace queen, something like that. I think he really thinking he had the best hands.
I'm surprised Alan's money isn't there. Yeah, he makes the call.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Walt thought he had the best hand. I really do. Let's see, he turns it over thinking he's got the best hand. And he goes, oops, maybe not.
Turns to 7. Alan needs to dodge a 10 here. River's an 8.
I mean, I don't think Walt did that to try to get Alan off a king.
No.
I actually think he might have he saw it as somewhat of a weak bet, and he said, well, maybe this guy's got jacks or queens,
Yeah.
and he will fold jacks or queens. And if he has ace queen, okay, well, I'll take it away there anyway.
Button moves over here to seat 3.
You guys gonna be emailing the bike and how you doing the world?
Now, oftentimes we have people write in, like Breakaway 7 did, saying, can you critique my game or can you critique my buddy's game? And we always point them to the archives and to the show, Dave.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have kind of limited time. We are professional poker players as well. I don't want anybody to take it personally when they PM or email us about a question that we might not be able to get to.
But part of the great thing is, obviously, if you play on the show, pretty much all we're doing is talking about everybody's play.
Right.
The funny thing is, sometimes somebody actually asks, one of our favorite guys, Mark, who's on the show probably once a week, always asks us, hey, what do you guys think about this, or what do you guys think about that? And I always say to him, I go, do you watch the show? I go, if you watch the show, you'll hear exactly what we think about it.
Eric bets right into an open-ended straight draw there. Queen 10 deuce. Nice bet by Eric with the Jack 9, and he takes it down.
Supportmusic.com.
And yes, Utopia, David, who emailed us, David and I did hit a jackpot. Dave actually hit the smaller end. I got a table share. Dave won with 4 10s over aces full of 10s. We thought for a second we hit the big one, which would have been a month ago, but they changed the rules. Because now actually, you know, it used to be from 11 to 2 and 4 to 7 Monday through Thursday. Pocket pair over pocket pair, even if it's aces full of 10s, won the 100,000. But now after 7 o'clock and between 2 and 4, they do double jackpots. So they've changed the criteria and moved the 100,000 up now.
Alan's raised it up here with ace-king suited, ace-king of diamonds, and I don't think anybody's going to call. Nobody does. You know, it's interesting. The funny thing is, I had bought into the game for about $1,400, and I built up my stack to about $2,100. So, but I guess at first when I saw that I was beaten set over set, I was really glad the guy only had about $170. But then when I turned quads, I'm sitting there thinking, why couldn't this guy have $2,000?
And again, Breakaway 7 says, worst paying job, I'm a dealer in St. Louis. I'm still making $24 plus an hour. Do you know how many of my friends spend 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars on a degree and don't make as much money as I do?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I'll tell you, I wonder if the Forbes magazine was kind of actually looking at more of what they get per hour, and obviously not looking at their tips. And obviously, if you're a waiter or a bartender.
Yeah, what about a bartender, though, who gets $6.75 an hour? I remember I used to get negative paychecks because the money I claimed on my tips would just get paid off from the paycheck.
Open-ended straight draw here for Owen.
Queen 9 deuce here. Look at this, 10-5 of clubs here. Flush draw for RJ. Now RJ playing 10-5 of clubs in the cutoff. So he's voluntarily put money in the pot in position, and he's not even going to get involved with it. Again, that's kind of the problem to play that hand. I mean, if you're not going to get involved there, I don't really know what you're looking to hit, right?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense. I like the bet by Owen. Puts money in there right away. He only had second pair. Oftentimes in no-limit hold'em, especially cash games and tournaments, oftentimes the first bettor, the first person to put money in the pot, is the one that makes money.
Email here from Michael Sullivan saying, card dealer, one of the worst jobs playing ever, ? Are you kidding me? I've known car dealers that work 4 days a week and made over $60,000 a year. I wish. Great show. Yeah, I mean, this is not something that we said. I'm kind of dumbfounded by the statement.
Once again, this is an email I received from somebody, one of our viewers, and he was quoting Forbes magazine.
Right.
I am not a dealer, and I'm not privy to what dealers make.
4-way action here, limped around. Jack 6 deuce rainbow.
That's the kind of flop I like to bluff into. You know, if you get called, you're beat. You know what somebody's got. You know, obviously there's no draw out there whatsoever.
Joe does not lead with king 6 here. Now maybe he's going to lead. Turns of 4.
Well, Jerry's picked up a pair with the gut shot.
Joe bets 15 here with king 6. Jerry calls.
Obviously, I don't like the call there. I think it's a raise or fold situation, don't you?
Harold is calling with the gut shot to the 5. Wow, just a gut shot to the 5. And the river is a 10. He actually had an overcard to second pair, and he's got the best hand now.
And is he going to check down?
Yep.
Wow.
He's going to win it with 10-3. Well, do you blame Joe for checking it there?
I don't blame Joe for checking. I can't believe Jerry checked it, though.
What?
How can you think you're good?
Amazing. You know, we saw a guy that I actually respect his play. I think his name is George. He's played on the show a couple times, not the Greek poker god.
A different George.
Yeah, different god. I mean, Jerry check raised George all in on the turn one hand in the 5-10 game, and George called for a chop. Remember that? Ace-7 offsuit against ace-queen.
Yeah, the play by both players was actually a little dumbfounding. You're not quite sure what either player is doing. The board is, for anybody wondering at home, the board was like ace, queen,
3-3.
3-3, exactly.
Yeah.
Ace, queen, 3-3. Both players have ace rag.
Right.
One player actually check raised all in with ace rag, and the other guy called with an ace rag, and you're going, God, what are these guys thinking?
Raise here by RJ. He's going to make it 30 to go here with 6-7 suited. And Owen's going to call with ace-4 spades. Now I wonder, does Owen call in limit hold two big bets pre-flop?
I'm sure.
Or two small bets with ace-rag suited?
Well, that's a nice flop for him. And that's a nice flop. Now, see, Here he's got bottom pair.
And a flush draw.
And the
Now,
flush draw.
I'm surprised RJ flopped an open-ended straight draw. And RJ's going to not bet it. He just check calls there. I mean, isn't that the type of flop you're looking for if he raises 6-7?
Yeah,
He turns
and there's
9,
a spade.
and Owen's got the goods. And I like the bet. He's going to bet 25 here.
Well, he's going to build himself a pot, maybe.
Never see this sometimes at the higher
And this
levels.
is great. Now,
RJ
what happens
calls
if a
him.
3, a non-spade 3 or a
Right.
non-spade 8 come off?
Oh, the
Well,
river's a jack.
He missed.
That's a great bet by Owen. We see so many players check that.
Yeah.
And he made an extra 25 there.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
A lot of players go, well, I want to let my opponent get there. Well, no, charge him to get there, and then hope he gets there.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't get there, what are you going to do?
Is that Cheryl over there in C4 coming into the game again?
Apparently.
There she is.
The ever-friendly Cheryl.
I think that, what is that, Ted behind her? He was on the show during her birthday
Yeah,
party.
Cheryl and Ted Bundy. I mean, Ted.
Oh, man.
Queen Jack offsuit.
Oh, no. Queen Jack offsuit here. King Jack 3 on the flop.
Harold with the best hand here. Imagine he's going to bet it here. Now, C3's got Jack 8. Walt's got Jack 8. He's a pretty good player. I'm assuming he's just going to check and fold this. And Harold's going to take it down. Nice bet by Harold.
Email here by Rick in Dallas, home of the Mavericks. They're doing kind of well there in the championship, aren't
And
they?
the Heat hasn't
Shaq
shut
had
up.
5 points the other day.
5 points. I mean, that's abysmal.
Says maybe it's just me, but I've seen a lot of people limping since Thursday with big hands like aces or kings. Is this a new trend? Well, obviously we talk about when there are times to do it with aggressive play. I wouldn't do it at this table. And the other thing, too, is if you're going to do it and you don't get the limp re-raise, you have to play it defensive. You have to understand that if you don't hit your set, you don't want to build the big pot up, Dave.
Yeah, one of the things I'll tell you, I mean, the only time I really like to do that limp re-raise with a big hand is if I'm playing with really aggressive players and I'm playing short stack poker.
Right.
Where I can then limp re-raise all in.
Right.
And not worry about it. I'm done with it. And I'm doing it with queens, kings, or aces, something like that.
Limped around here 4 ways. Ace, queen, king here. See if Allen takes a shot at it here on the button with ace, jack off suit. Well, Harold is going to bet, and Allen just calls.
And Allen's jack will play right now. Both players have aces, king, queen. Obviously, the kicker plays. Unless the board pairs, Allen's jack will play.
Turns to 7. Now Harold checks, and I think I have the best hand if I'm Allen here. With
I
ace jack.
definitely bet this. Not
He
even a
bets.
question.
And if Harold calls, I was going to say, if Harold calls here and the river brings a deuce, I bet again with ace jack for value. Talking about betting mediocre hands on the river.
I bet almost any card that comes out. If he
Yeah.
checks to me on the river, I'm going to bet it.
Like right there, if the river is an 8.
Well, I'm going to bet it for sure.
Yeah.
I put the guy in a weak ace. Not even a question. I think I hear from him if he has 2 pair, right?
Don't get crazy.
Button moves over here to Walt and C3.
I mean, you think about what is going on in sports right now. It's crazy. You got the College World Series. You have the French Open. You have golf's U.S. Open coming up this week. You have the World Cup. You've got the Stanley Cup Finals. What else is going on? And obviously the NBA Finals.
Yeah. Obviously,
And baseball's
baseball
obviously-
season, you know.
Baseball in the middle of their whatever. Endless season.
Yeah, the A's swept the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite threads on 2+2 over in sporting events. It's called Bump This Thread Every Time the Yankees lose. 5-way action here. Limped around. It was actually a straddled pot, so it's a $50 pot here.
And Straddler was Jerry.
Now, Cheryl was in the small blind with King Deuce. Would you even complete with that hand in the small blind?
Probably
Straddle?
not. I don't see a point in it.
And now Owen is going to bet out on the 7, which is the best hand here. Checked on the flop. He now bets when the jack pairs on the turn.
Unless you're playing with some real donkeys, where the implied odds are absolutely ridiculous.
And that probably means that you have to have deeper stacks at the
Right.
table.
Unless it's an absurd implied odds.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think one of the biggest leaks in a lot of people's game is completing out of the small blind with hands that are not worth even that extra chip.
Take a look at another chip count here. Second one of the night.
Yep, 4,800 at the table now. Jerry still 1,000. Allen with 650. Now, we actually had a little bit of mix up there. We'll fix that up for you in a second. Actually, we had Rostam in seat 8. That's Eric in seat 8. We'll fix that for you. How much did Rostam lead with? What he took us for? He took about, what, 2,500?
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Walt is going to raise it up here with ace-10 offsuit. He's going to take it down.
They probably should have made him sign something when he said, "Can I buy in for 1,000?" Yes, but you have to stay for 3 hours.
Hey, Rostam is a guy that will come and play in the 500 game. And here we go with another chip count.
There we go. Jerry obviously has the most money. He's got $1,000 still $4,800 on the table. Obviously, Rostam took about $2,200 off the table.
Let's take a look at the
Let's see how they're
differences
doing.
here.
Yeah, Alan, Harold, and Walt are our winners so far. Rick, RJ there in seat 5, he's down $1,000.
Yeah, I think he really overcommitted. You know, sometimes you get in those pot odds type situations where, I guess he might thought, well, if a guy's doing this with overcards and a spade draw, Dave, you know, I might have odds to
He
call.
convinces himself. He goes, well, maybe this guy's got ace-7 and this
Yeah.
guy's got ace-king of spades,
Right.
and I'm ahead. If you think hard enough, you can always put your opponent on some hand you can beat, can't you?
Remember that night when we were doing the big game when the guy overcalled with ace-7?
Oh.
When the board was, the guy in seat 5 flopped the straight and Mo had bottom set.
I mean, how about Friday?
And the guy said, this guy's got a double gut shot and this guy has ace-7. I don't even remember.
Yeah, he convinced himself that he had the best hand.
Queen, Jack, and King 10 out there. Little raise pre-flop.
And Jerry's going to make a continuation bet, and that should be enough to take it down.
Now, did he raise it out of the blind with King 10? And he's going to take it down.
We'll let you have that.
Button moves over here to seat 6.
Now, it's funny, I was talking about small blind leaks in a lot of players' games. And sometimes, I got to be honest, it's a leak in my own game as well. It's one mistake begets another mistake, and you've got to realize how hard it is to play a hand from first position. And you are going to be in first position on every street. And let's say you complete with a hand like King 4, and the flop comes out. Even if the flop comes out, Ace King 4, you still can't even play the hand that hard. I mean, you really don't know where you're at. And it always ends up being, one mistake begets another mistake, and before you know it, you end up losing your entire stack.
Now, I want to point something out here. Joe raised it to 35 with pocket queens.
Okay.
And Alan just folded ace-queen offsuit. Did not get involved. He is really playing tight over there in seat 2.
Well, you realize that how little value ace-queen offsuit has in this game.
Now, RJ's going to call with 3s, and we are heads up. Well, King, Jack, 9 here. Joe's got a gut shot, second pair to the board. I assume this is going to go bet fold.
Bet 50.
Joe's going to bet 50 here. RJ is out. Email here from Bernie McIntyre says, "Hi, Dave and Bart. Big, huge fan. Have some questions about poker books. Do you think they're over or undervalued? Do you read them? What's the best way to utilize them? Do you have some recommendations? I know there's no substitute for experience, but just wanted to know your opinions. Thank you." Well, it's funny. No Limit Hold'em books. Again, I haven't gotten a chance to read the Skolansky new book. I don't know if it's in the bookstore. If it is, I'll pick it up tonight. If not, I meant to order it online over the weekend, and I forgot, but I definitely want to read that one. I think a great book to just be a refresher is The Theory of Poker. Read that every few months, Dave, just as a general.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think all books, almost every book can be useful, and you've got to realize, I know so many players, so many people that go, what, $19.95 for a book, $29.95 for a book? And you've got to realize, if you can get just one thing out of a book, it could make you thousands over your lifetime. It is so well worth the $19.95 investment.
Look at this $30 raise here by Jerry with 6-4 suited, and Eric's got pocket queens.
And he just calls.
He's just going to call. Again, I think in this game, you might be giving away a little bit too much, especially from Jerry, who's been known to bring it in with some weaker hands out there in late position. This time he brings in with 6-4 spades.
See, one of the things you can do with your queens, you don't need to raise it a lot. Some people go, well, if I don't raise it a lot, I'm not going to take it down pre-flop. No, you're not trying to take it down
You just
pre-flop.
want to get a heads up maybe with the blind raise.
Exactly. If he makes it 30 and you make it 75 to go,
Yeah.
well, then everybody else folds, and you get a heads up between you and him.
Now, I know we've been talking about in the big games about why you might not want to build a big pot out of position with queens. Against Jerry, to get it heads up, I'm not scared.
No.
Against a guy like Mike, or maybe against some other tricky player like Jonas or Jay Katsutani building a pot up with queens and we're both $10,000 deep.
Well, I don't want to give them information on
Right.
what my hand might be.
Right.
I want to try to keep it as concealed as possible.
Right. Four-way action here. Jerry, the pre-flop raiser.
Ooh, set of eights and a set of queens. Set over set.
Set over set with the ace out there. And look at this. Eric is going to bet right into the set. I love it with the ace out
It's
there.
a great bet with the ace out there. You got to assume in a raised pot, somebody has an ace.
I can't imagine Harold's not going to go broke on this hand. And you wonder if Harold were to actually raise there, if Jerry had like ace-king, could he get out of the hand?
And I imagine he's going to slow play this. He's a slow player.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the smooth call here. I really don't. One of the reasons being is there's a good chance you think, well, maybe this guy's betting. Maybe there's an ace
And
behind
look
me.
at that! Look at that disguised double gut shot with the Jack 10. We talked about this hand with this flop.
It's my
Queen 8 all the time.
favorite. It's my favorite flop for Jack 10. It really is.
Walt has got a double gut shot here, and he could bust both guys here.
He could. No, that's not going to help.
Turns a 6. He needed a king or a 9.
And if these players slow play a little bit more, Walt can catch this. You're right. He's only a 4-1 dog. to
If
catch
Eric
it.
bets again and Harold just calls again, well,
No.
I think he's going to bet now. And I think that 250, and I think Harold's going to push, and that's going to get Walt out of the hand now.
Yeah. And you know
Funny,
what?
man. If it went check, check, and Walt said, okay, I'll check.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, could the pot be big enough to take one off for Walt? I'm wondering. It's going to be 250, 500, plus what's in the pot. No, it won't be enough.
No, I don't think it will be
No,
enough.
it won't be. It would have to obviously be
You'd only get three or four.
250. I mean, you're talking about $1,000 it would need to be. Plus, you'd want some implied odds, which there are none. And if Harold watches the archives and watches this, obviously, really nothing you can do about this. You flop a set.
No, there's nothing.
It's overhead. What are you going to do? You just tap the table and you go, okay. Obviously, if you're deeper, maybe there's a way to get away from it.
And he's going to move in.
Yeah, and you don't mind that.
And this is great because you don't put Harold on aces here. It was a raise pot. He would have re-raised with aces. I think he's got ace-queen here. Most
Might even
likely
have ace-six.
ace-queen or pocket eights.
Could even have ace-6.
Right, something like that.
I mean, who knows? But in this game, there's just no way to get away from a set. You're not deep enough to get away from it.
Well, while trying to do the calculations here is he's not going to take into consideration the two hearts, backdoor hearts. He probably thinks it's going to be good.
Well, it's a pure math question for him.
Yeah.
If he figures he's going to hit this, and he's going to hit it 1 out of 5 times.
Plus, you've got another 100 by Eric. So it's basically almost 600 between these two guys, plus about, maybe 350 or 400 in the pot. It's about a $250 call for about a $1,000 pot if you include the extra 100 that's not in the pot from Eric and Seed 8 as implied up.
Actually, it's more like 350 though, because you got to realize that. Remember, Harold already moved all in.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's 350 to win. It's 350 to win about 1,200.
Yeah.
1,150.
Just not enough.
No, he's getting about 3 to 1, but you can see he's only going to hit this 1 out of 5 times. And you figure out the math question, and he correctly folds. And obviously, even if the king or the 9 were to come, that's a negative EV move to make that call.
And here comes the river, and it's a 7.
No difference.
Yep. And the queens are going to take it down 3 queens. Set over set.
And that's just part of poker. That happens sometimes. Just be happy you weren't in the 5-10 game, and each one of you did have $5,000.
Now remember, there are very select times when you can get away from sets. Because if you flop bottom set there against a pre-flop raiser and receive a lot of heat, especially maybe even from 1 or 2 players, let's say you bet right in, another guy shows extreme strength in between, and the pre-flop raiser sticks around with a smooth call on the flop, or a push, or maybe pushes the turn, you might be able to get away from a set of 8s on the turn.
Well,
for a lot of money.
especially if a queen or an ace were to come out on the turn of the river.
Yeah.
And you suddenly, you said, wait a second, and you went backwards, and you
If
go,
an ace or a queen comes out, you got to really look at it like I can't beat what was top 2 now either.
right, and if you reevaluate it, and you go back and you go, well, would Jerry play just an ace this hard?
Yeah.
And you go, I don't. Would Eric play just an ace this hard? Probably not. So you got to put him on a minimum of 2 pair. And if he had 2 pair, well, now you can't beat anything.
And look at this. Now, this is interesting. Jared Pondalek emails us and says, Forbes continuation. And this really makes sense now. He says, I think Forbes got the data through the IRS, and I'm not sure how dealer tips are recorded and sent to them. Also, Bart mentioned bartenders, and they were also listed as one of the worst paying jobs. So obviously the list means nothing then.
Right. Because based on what IRS. I'm sure on that list, professional poker players are on the list too.
I mean, bartending is a gold job, especially in this city.
Bartending is.
Yeah.
Bartending, there was a time in bartending where I would make easily $600 in cash a night.
Yeah. Plus all the fringe benefits that comes from
what fringe benefits are you talking about?
I actually bartended a bit longer than you did at some of the...
Well, I bartended, not even here, I actually bartended in college as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was bartending at Miyagi's. You were a server there, right, for the most part?
Server, and then I bartended at the end of it.
Well, Ben's out there with bottom, too.
It was just too much.
I was a bartender at Saddle Ranch as well.
Right.
On Sunset and
Cowboy
Universal.
place.
Girls there every night. That's the one place you can go to on any night of the week. And it's fun.
I heard it's actually kind of cheesy now, though. I think it was kind of turning cheesy at the end of it all.
The one at Sunset is kind of, it's a lot of local. I mean, the thing about going out in L.A. is during the week it's actually best. I try to stay away from places on the weekends when all these so-called bridging tunnel crew come in, which in the West Coast means people from Anaheim and people from the Valley. In New York, it means Jersey and...
Right.
Yeah. King Jack suited here for seat number 4. That's Cheryl. See if she's going to bring this one in for a little raise or if she's just going to limp in here.
I mean, who needs to go to Sunset? I mean, you can find all the girls you want in a casino, right?
Yeah. Got a raise here by Cheryl with King Jack suited. She made it 15. You wonder if she would make it that little with the big pocket pair. We'll see later on tonight.
Right.
Queen 4-7 here.
Now, will she continue? If she continues, I imagine she'll take it down. Now, Joe and Alan are both flopped a pair, but is that really the flop they're looking to hit against an early position raiser?
Well, Alan's going to check call. Maybe he's going to see what happens here on the turn. Turns at 10. Now Cheryl's open-ended.
Now, does she take the card or does she bet it? She's going to put some heat on him. And I got to tell you, I mean, how does Alan really continue with this?
He beats her into the pot with the call.
And she can catch a king, a jack, an ace, or 9.
There's a 5.
Not a 5. 5 does nothing.
And she just gives up. Which probably, if she checked the river there, I might think, well, I guess there'd be a chance she had ace-king or something. Sometimes when you check with a mediocre hand, Dave, on the river and the guy checks behind you, you almost wanted him to bluff and call as a bluff catcher because when you know he checks behind you, you probably beat.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Now, if there's ever a mistake there she made, nothing wrong with raising free flop, nothing wrong with betting on the flop, but if she really wanted to take the hand down, she needs to either take a free card on the turn, or if she's going to bet on the turn, bet a real amount, not like $50. Make it a $90 bet, and she probably does take it down.
Ace-queen here for RJ. He's going to make it 35 to go from up front. And he's going to take this one down. Interesting post here. Again, by Breakaway, our new friend.
Well, he's making up for it, you know. I mean, he only watches the replays and making up for lost time. And I guess I'll read the post. He says, "Hey, Bart and Dave, Chuck is watching for the first time ever." And Chuck was actually in seat 2 on Friday night show. Check it out. And he loves it already. He said he can't imagine doing anything else for the next 3 hours except subscribe to the archives and watch himself on Live at the Bike. Awesome. You have a new lifetime viewer. Congrats. Well, thank you very much for spreading the word. We always like to say, if you like the show, tell your friends about it. If you don't like the show, tell your friends about it. Spread the word. RJ's going to make it 25 to go with Big Slick there. Owen's going to call. It's actually 35. Owen's going to call with a couple of 8s. And Walt's not going to get involved. Cheryl's not going to get involved. And we're going to see this heads up, and the pot is quickly $85. Actually, $80, sorry. Jack 10-10. Owen is still good. Always tough to play ace-king out of position. Now, RJ checks and Owen bets, but Owen bets, what, $20? And obviously, when you're making that transition from limit hold'em to no limit hold'em, you've got to realize that The casino isn't telling you how much to bet now. You've got to come up with that on your own. And when the pot is 70, I'm going to probably bet at least 40 there. 45, maybe even 50. Some people just take one off when it's such a small bet. Or they'll sense the weakness and they go, well, you know what, I'm going to take one off and see maybe I can steal it from you. Button moves over to Walt in seat 3. Jerry is first act. He's under the gun. Cheryl's got ace-king there in the small blind. See how she plays it when it comes back around to her. Harold not going to play the 9-7 of clubs. Obviously a limit hold'em player. Now 9-7 of clubs, I got to tell you, is very overrated in limit hold'em. Now this is a button raised by Walt. And Cheryl's going to re-raise it. She doesn't believe it. She doesn't buy it, and I don't mind it at all.
75.
Obviously, you got to realize, though, it's tough to play this hand out of position. It really is. And oftentimes what I'll do if I get called here, I'll put in 150 blind. I really will. Because what am I going to do? What am I going to check when it comes out? And look at that flop. Ace 10-8, and Walt has outflopped her. He had a 3-outer, and he gets there. Oh, man. It's not Cheryl's night so far. And Cheryl's got 3 outs to the win. And there's a queen. She can catch a jack now or a king. And another queen. And wow, and the 10 is counterfeited. And Cheryl's going to win this with a king. Look at that. She could have caught a jack, a queen, or a king on the river, or a queen there. And now she's got aces and queens with a king kicker. He has aces and queens with a 10 kicker. Running with queens there kills Walt's hand. And I got to tell you, it was a questionable call by Walt. Really was. Ace 10 there. Against a pretty tight player who re-raises you out of the blind. You got to know that you're drawing your 3 outs. You got to know that either your ace is good or your 10 is good. And she just doesn't have enough money to really make that call. Too many things have to go right for you to win.
3 queens and 3 kings.
2 queens, 2 kings. One of the kings is a diamond nickname for it.
And he's pointing out all the outs she had, and obviously a jack as well would have been an out, giving her a straight.
What do
I had aces and tens, but it's ace, queen, 10 on the board. Oh, she's going to have 2.
Now, RJ's got ace, queen in the big blind, and I think they're going to chop it up, and they do. Small blind, actually. Pardon me.
you had the ace 10 of diamonds?
Yeah, diamond came on the 10.
Button moves over to seat number 5. Jerry's taking a break here, so small blind is Owen, big blind is Eric. Harold's under the gun. Speaking of Under the Gun, you can actually go to liveatthebike.com, check out my blog, Under the Gun with David Tuckman. I actually started that last year at the World Series, and I will continue to update it and update it more regularly during the World Series. Walt's going to limp in here with Jack 10. Jack 10 suited. And I got to tell you, in a game like this, when I'm 2 off the button with Jack 10 suited, I probably bring it in for a raise. Nice flop for him here. And wow, Eric's going to bet it here. Eric's got second pair. And I got to tell you, if you're Walt, Walt's going to just call. Now, Walt doesn't know it, but a jack or a 10 will be good as well.
Good. Alive. Really good.
3 on the turn. And if Eric checks to you, might you bet it with Jack 10 suited? Try to take it away now. He takes the card. And the river's a deuce. And if this gets checked down, Eric's going to win. Eric checks it, and Walt is now going to bet. And I got to tell you, I don't buy it. But Eric does. And it doesn't really make a difference if I buy it or not. What kind of hand would Walt limp in with, smooth call me, check the turn, and now bet the river? I just don't. I don't buy it. I mean, I put him more on probably 6-7, which is open-ended, or I put him on clubs. It just doesn't make much sense. Now, I know a lot of players will check one time to control pot size, but normally those players aren't going to be betting the river for value.
Button's going to move over here to Owen in seat number 7. Again, you can email us at liveatthebike.com. Questions, comments, suggestions, always appreciated. Look at this. Email here from Val Zudans. And he said, I got the new Skolansky No Limit book in the mail. I'm 3/4 of the way through the new Skolansky book. It's a big disappointment. His theory of poker was better, and Harrington's books are 10 times better. So interesting.
Okay.
Maybe we can get some other words. I mean, a lot of people on 2+2 obviously have an affinity for Skolansky. It is his site and his publishing company. Four-way action here, limped around. Jack 4-5. Eric's got the top pair here.
Jerry's open-ended here, and it is a rainbow board. If I'm Jerry, I might even raise this up. See where I'm at, see if I can take it down right now. And he is going to raise it up.
Looks like he just called there, Dave. Looked like he had a bunch of chips.
Oh, I thought he was going to raise. Okay.
And again, with this open-ended straight draw, remember, I think it's kind of obvious. Somebody might put you on 6-7, but if you have top and bottom open-ended, I'll call it that, there are 4 cards you really can represent. You
Definitely. If an 8 comes.
You can represent an 8, you can represent a 3, and you have a 7 or a deuce that are good,
Yeah.
right?
And if you raise the flop, I don't know if Eric continues with it at all. Top pair with only 9 kicker. Now, we're talking about books, and I got to tell you, one of the reasons I read books also, even if the book is crap, I read a book because I know other poker players are reading that book. And I want to know what they're reading. I want to know what's going through their minds. So when I see somebody make a play, I can go, oh, you read that in Super System? Or you read that in Harrington's new book, or what? It gives you a lot of information of what is going on in your opponent's head.
Oh! Rising on deck circle. Oh!
Button moves over here to seat 8. And the Belmont Stakes for this weekend, too, because we got this email here from...
Yeah, good point. The Belmont Stakes was such
from Ryan in Tucson, who actually picked the U.S. to make the semifinals, which almost looks like a comical pick now.
Yeah. Good job there, Ryan.
Limped around here 8 ways.
Keep up the good work.
Queen 6 deuce here with a couple clubs.
I mean that in complete sarcasm. $35 bet here on the button with the best hand. Eric's going to bet this queen. I don't think anybody can continue. Doesn't look like it. Look at Ronnie getting those cards up that quick.
Yep.
So we manually put the cards in there.
So Ryan said, of course, it was a horrible weekend for sports. He says, I have a newfound respect for Nadal. I'm still not a fan, but not as bitter like Bart. That's true.
Yeah. It was funny, actually.
He also said, P.S., did you see the Czech girls before that match started? The French Open. Or actually, excuse me, at the when they shot in the World Cup.
Right.
Yeah.
That was funny. I actually saw the Belmont Stakes, and I'm a big horse racing fan, especially for the Triple Crown. But I got to tell you, this Belmont was such a, I got to tell you, it was such a buzzkill in a way that, obviously Barbaro getting hurt in the Preakness, and neither the Kentucky Derby winner or the Preakness winner were in the Belmont. So it was just another race. I mean, it was like whatever.
35.
Got a raise here by seat number 5. RJ's going to bring in for 35 with 7s. He's going to take it down. Well, the beauty of the Belmont with, say, Smarty Jones, what was that, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Is the Belmont's a longer race, and those horses will win at those fixed lengths of Kentucky Derby and Preakness. And Smarty Jones actually led almost, 90% of the way, but then he just died at the end. And that's the thing with the Belmont.
Well, it was the third race in a span of 6 weeks for him,
Yeah.
And Smarty Jones, obviously a great horse and a great run at the Triple Crown, but didn't do it.
Email here from Mark Buonagari said, in first or second position with Ace-King, will either of you just limp with aggressive players when almost every hand is raised? Then if raised, what do you do then? Well, if you're playing a short stack or playing short stack hold'em, like kind of that short stack theory, you might be able to push there. I mean, if that is what you were trying to do. Obviously, if you push and you get called, you're really only a big dog to aces. You're not even that big of a dog to kings.
Sometimes actually the WPT.
Eric raised here with ace-9. Alan called him the blind with 4s. And it goes check on the flop. Turns to jack. Let's see if Alan's going to fire out. Nope, check again. And the river's a jack, and I think Alan's going to bet here, probably for value. Maybe get called by an ace-king.
What do they gauge that on? Did I ask you?
And he's going to take it down.
Damage here, say here's who you want with each
Actually, they'll give a list of the photos.
Button's going to move over here to Walt in C3.
They assume your quality, your experience, your dexterity is all the same. It's just like what you look like.
Right. Little did he eat.
That's like
And actually, the button is over in Alan's hand in seat 2. Alan was in one of the blinds that last hand. We're playing 5-5 no limit hold'em, $300 min, $500 max. Yellow chips are $5 chips, purples are 25s, whites are 100s. You can bring your stack up to 500 at any time. It's like it's kind of the first nice hand, premium hand that Cheryl's seen all day. She's got ace-king, offsuit in the big blind. Now, if it's linked around, will she raise? Now, Alan is just going to limp in with ace-queen suited. Wow.
Raise it.
And Cheryl is going to raise. I got to tell you, if I'm Alan there, I'm probably raising a lot on this table.
A big blind.
Now, she's going to make it 20, not really a big raise. The problem with that raise is it's kind of like just a pot sweetener. You might not want to play a built-up pot out of position with ace-king, because if she misses, is she going to bet? And Alan does call with the ace-queen of spades. As I said, that would be a really tight limp fold. Four-way action here, $80 pot. Well, there's the ace, and is Alan going to get himself in trouble here? Cheryl's going to bet out. She's going to bet 40 into an $80 pot. I have a feeling that Alan might raise here. He might raise and fold to a push. That would probably be the best way to approach this hand. It's a real weak bet by Cheryl. If Alan makes this maybe 125 and Cheryl comes over the top, no, he's just going to call. Just a call here by Alan. The turn's a 4. She's going to bet out here again, it looks like. And she is still betting rather weak. She's going to bet 75, and he beats her in the pot once again. And this pot now is about $300, and the river's a jack. Well, that's 2 pair you can't beat now. I was going to say, if the river's a rag, you might push for value if you're Cheryl. What's she going to do now? She's going to bet 100. And the only thing that Alan can hope for now is a chop with that river card. If you put her on an ace. I thought if a real rag came there, Cheryl should really push for value. Alan did not find any information out. He just smooth called the weak bet on the flop, smooth called the turn, and now he's bet the river, and there is nothing he can beat. And she's going to win it there with ace-king. And she built herself up a nice little pot, and she took down about over a $500 pot there with ace-king. And I think she made a mistake by starting the hand with just the $20 pre-flop raise. Limped around 5 ways, Dave. Yeah. She makes it 20, a hand that does not play well out of position, multi-way, ace-king offsuit. And Alan kind of stubbornly stays in. He smooth calls the flop. I thought Alan would make a raise to a weak bet. She bet a half pot-sized bet on the flop. I thought he would raise and fold to a push. Instead, he just called and lost more money that way.
You know what doesn't make any sense about Alan's play tonight? He's playing it really tight, except when he's playing against Cheryl. For whatever reason, maybe it's because she's a girl, maybe because, I don't know, but he feels, it's obvious that he thinks he can outplay her. But you've got to realize that if somebody is getting their money in with the best hand time and time again, you can't outplay him every time. You know, especially when they're flopping hands.
5-way action here, limped around ace-jack 9 on the flop. And Jerry is going to bet. You know, we know these players so... Actually, it was Owen who bet out there with the jack 10 he's going to take down. We know these players so well. I really thought when the pot was built up to 80 and Cheryl bet 40 and Alan had ace-queen, I thought Alan was going to make it 125. I then thought Cheryl would probably re-push and then Alan could easily fold. But he just, he just called, and the river was a jack, and then there really isn't a whole lot he can beat.
There's nothing he can beat. I mean, I don't understand why
she fires 3 times into him. The only thing he can do is chop there.
He played the 9-7 the same way, just checking, calling. And at that time, she happened to have missed her draw, and she didn't have anything. But if she had a queen there, what, is he just going to pay her off the entire way there again? With second pair? I don't understand. Obviously, with the World Series of Poker coming up in a couple of weeks, our own mini-series of poker is coming on. And it kind of mirrors the World Series. Just a lot cheaper. But you get a lot of chips. It's actually a pretty good tournament.
John E on 2+2 says, what do you mean by we don't get French benefits? Talking about our bartending thing. You ever had that thing like, you know, after the end of the night, girl comes up to you and says, are you coming to the after party? And you say, where?
I've never heard of that in my life.
And you say, where? Oh, at my house. Who's going to be there? Me and you.
Whose story is that? Where did you hear that? Jesus. That was actually that was one of the coolest nights. That was just so cool.
It's not like it's unique to you, Tuckman.
No, I know. It's just like you just look at her like you're coming to the after party. Where? My house. Okay. How do I answer this question?
And the funny thing is that they were real sticklers for cleaning. You had to, you know, fill out your, total up your box and clean up, and you weren't out of there until like 3:30. She's still waiting for you an hour and a half later. It's all good to go, right? Cheryl raises it up here with ace-queen, takes it down.
She got a lot more air
Live at the Pike. We have reverted to locker room stories now. I can't believe Breakaway is sitting with his 2-year-old daughter. This is terrible.
I just thought, it's funny. Everyone always say sometimes you guys give away too much. Everyone was really looking forward to that.
Now you're giving away too much.
About poker.
Oh,
Everyone
okay.
was really looking forward to that Skalansky book. And I wondered if they really would put down some, fundamentals of no-limit hold'em that kind of are somewhat exclusive to people that really, really played the game well. And I think you probably could put them down in print, and I wanted to see if they did, but it doesn't seem like from a couple of reviews that it was that good.
I mean, I've probably read somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 different poker books. Some are very good, some are not very good. Some books I've literally gotten one thing out of. Daniel Negreanu actually wrote an article in Card Player, I want to say it was probably 2.5 years ago, about this exact thing, and he said if you can get one thing out of a poker book, it's worth it. It's worth the money.
Now, what do you think about Skalansky's book on Limit Hold'em for,
Advanced Pros? I think it's great.
Yeah, that
love
is
that book. Well, Limit Hold'em is more mathematical.
And more of almost a book, a game you could learn from a text.
Well, it's just a mathematical game. I mean, it's so pre-flop. It's so pre-flop hand selection. And obviously, and his book is well written, and it's really well thought out. I think it's a great book. I really like it.
Three-way action here. Little raise here by Jerry with ace. He's actually got ace-9. The flop comes ace-queen-jack here. So he's hit top pair, and he's going to bet.
45.
That's 45.
Now he's on the button. Take a shot at it, and I think that'll be enough to take it down. I don't think Harold's going to get involved, is he?
Well, he's got gut shot and third pair with king-jack.
Yeah, but, okay, wow, he's going to call.
He calls. Again, Jerry's got ace-9 here.
And Jerry's got almost no money. Harold's got almost no money. He's calling off all his money here.
Turns a 3.
And if you're Jerry, you probably bet the turn, take the free showdown at this point, right? Although, I mean, if your opponent had 2 pair, you'd probably hear from him, wouldn't you? I think ace-9 is probably the best hand.
King-jack against ace-9, and the river is a deuce.
I got to tell you, I bet this ace-9. For whatever reason, we don't have it up there, but he's going to check it down. He shows the ace-9.
Didn't like that so much. I had to, right?
And
I don't know where I was with that.
he takes it down.
I was not plus. 4. You got it.
Button moves over here to seat 7.
Now, Skalansky, the only thing that drives me nuts about him, and I'm a big Skalansky supporter, I do like him, but once in a while, when I get a couple hours to burn, I'll go over in 2+2, and I'll go to the the high stakes no limit thread, and I'll start reading some of the questions that people post. And once in a while, I know Skalansky likes to post something, and he poses a question to everybody.
Yeah.
But the questions are so absolutely absurd.
Or so abstract almost, right?
That it's like,
Right, yeah.
you just wonder if it's not like a practical question at all.
Got a raise here by seed 5 with 5-6 of diamonds. Owen is going to call with big slick suited. Small blind's got pocket 3s. He does not call. Well, maybe RJ does not have enough money. You wonder if Eric is paying attention to RJ's stack, and he shouldn't call with 3s there. It's a good laydown by Eric. Here we go to the flop. Queen 9-6 here. And RJ's got the best hand here with 5-6.
And if it checks to him, he'll probably bet it. And look, it checks to him.
80.
And he's going to put some money in there.
He bets 80.
Oh, actually, I didn't realize Owen was the pre-flop raiser. He's betting right into the raiser.
No, RJ was the pre-flop raiser.
He was, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's back over to Allen. Allen has absolutely nothing, and he is not going to get involved. And again, Allen there, you wonder, Eric does not call with pocket 3s because RJ's on the short stack. But Allen does call with ace-7 suited, which is probably a hand that you probably need even more money to call with than a pocket pair.
Well, you wonder, Allen played it really, really tight the first, say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes of the show. He lost a couple of hands here and there, and you wonder if now he's getting a little bit impatient. I want to credit Joe in there in seat 1. He hasn't gotten hands all night, but he's been real patient.
Now, we were talking just before that hand about besides the books thing, and I was going to say something, and now I can't.
I was talking about Skalansky on 2+2.
I remember I remember one time he asked, "What would you rather have in a cash game? Ace queen suited or jacks?" With no background, and it was. Look at this. We got aces for Cheryl, and Allen's got queens, and Allen raises it up here with queens, and Cheryl's going to come over the top. And I got to tell you, if you're Allen and Cheryl is re-raising me,
135.
I might even just fold. Well, I mean, I
Well,
don't know how
no,
much
no.
Allen's got behind
The
him.
thing is that, wait, there's a lot of hands she could be re-raising with.
I mean, I've
She
seen
could
her
be re-raising
play.
with jacks. She could be re-raising with ace
I
king.
don't know if she would, though. I don't know if she would. I've seen
She
her so
already
much.
re-raised with ace king.
And look
today.
at this. He folds. Gets rid of it like it's nothing.
She re-raised today with ace king already, though.
No, she re-raised out of the blind
Oh,
when
I
it
see.
was not raised.
No, actually, Walt raised ace 10. You were out of the room.
Okay.
And she re-raised him with ace king in the small blind.
Again, though, if you look at that, you take that
You
from
start looking at a range of hands. What can you beat? What can't you beat?
But remember, though, you take that from afar. You're saying that Walt made a button raise with ace 10, right? And she
Right.
re-raised out of the blind with ace king. She is now re-raising Allen, who is raised under the gun, who's played it as tight as anybody. Would she do that with ace king or jacks? I mean, maybe. It's a different range, though, Dave.
You
I
really
think
think
gotta
she's thinking
understand.
about all that?
I think she's a pretty good player,
No,
Dave.
she's an excellent player, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, do you think maybe you're going a little bit far and giving these players all that credit that they're thinking about certain things like, well, Allen's raised under the gun, and I'm re-raising him, so Allen's thinking about all those different things too?
Well, more about that in a second. Now, Allen's going to check ace queen here in the blind. It gets limped around 6 ways. 7, 4, 8 on the flop. And Jerry's going to come out and bet with 8, 9. Now, Jerry's got the best hand here with 8, 9. And he's going to take it down. Well, I think sometimes I understand that I sometimes give a little bit too much credit to players, but I might disagree with you slightly. I don't think that's so advanced that people, even if they're not super experts to the game, know that in terms of pre-flop hand selection, I can re-raise a late position raiser with a hand that is weaker that I can re-raise an under the gun raiser with. I mean, do you think that's really advanced?
I don't know if Cheryl and Allen were thinking about that or not. I just think sometimes you and I do this, and sometimes we do it at the table as well.
Right.
I think sometimes we give our opponents or the players we're watching, we try to think of what they're thinking. Obviously, we try to get inside their head. We also try to think of we also try to say what they should be thinking. Oftentimes, I don't think they're going that far. Oftentimes, I think they're just playing their cards.
Now, it was linked around. RJ live straddled here in a full ring game, Dave, and he's going to make the raise with ace 4. People say, well, why is he raising out of position? If you're going to straddle in a full ring game, I think you've got to raise that hand a lot of the time, right, with ace 4. Now, he gets a call by Owen with jack 9 of clubs, and Allen is in there now with 7-5 offsuit, out of position. You really can tell. I think he is getting a little bit impatient here now. He's still on the short stack.
50.
And it gets checked over to Owen. RJ did not lead, and Owen's going to bet. Now, Allen here has got a gut shot to the 8.
It's funny with a flop like that. Normally, I'd bet again, thinking that probably missed my opponents.
Yeah.
But in this case, obviously, Owen's got top pair. And I do want to give credit, obviously, as we talk about that, Allen did throw away the queens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a great laydown.
Again, we've seen it on the show, and I've seen it out in the afternoon in the 5-10 game. I mean, there are guys that straddle every single time, and they only raise with hands that they would raise with in that position. They won't even raise with a mediocre hand, like ace-jack, because they said they've got the worst position. If you're going to straddle in a full ring game, and you're just going to check it, there's no point to straddling whatsoever.
I mean, nothing wrong with not raising in that position. I just don't understand why you're straddling. What is the value to your straddle? You want to put more money in the pot out of position with a blind? You want a third blind? You've got to realize in a game like this where it's 5-5 blinds, you're paying $10 to see 9 hands, right?
Right.
You're paying about $1.11 a hand?
Right.
Approximately. Well, now you put an extra $10 in their blind out of position. Well, now suddenly you're paying $20 for 9 hands. You know, you've now upped your cost. You've actually doubled your cost. You're paying almost $2.22 per hand.
Limped around here.
Bobby.
5-way action. Oh, all clubs here. No one's got a club. Not a single club out there. 8-3 deuce.
Well, Allen's got top pair. Is he going to put a little money in there and see where he's at on the button? I mean, you imagine if it checks to Allen in seat 2, he's going to bet this, right? Well, Joe's going to bet.
That's 20.
Well, you know, he figures it gets checked around to him. That might be a bet that you can, you know, maybe send a bet out and steal it.
Yeah, and he does. Nice bet. Take it down, Joe, there. Anyway, yes, sometimes I read this Sklansky on 2+2, and you're talking about the jacks versus ace queen.
Yeah.
And then I see some of the players, some of the 2+2ers, nothing wrong, obviously, with 2+2ers. I love 2+2. a lot of people answering the question, though, pure mathematically. Well, if it's minus CB, and they do this, whole logarithm, and they figure out the whole percentages, and should they call or should they not call. And basically, it almost seems like Sklansky has reduced poker to pure mathematics. And it's so much more than that, isn't it? I mean, it's so much more than just mathematics. If it was mathematics, you would see the greatest mathematician in the world being able to beat poker on a regular basis, and I don't think you see that. Especially when you're talking about no limit holding.
3 players.
Limped around here 3 ways. Through another 3 flush here. Good thing it wasn't drinking night tonight, Dave. Ace 8-9, checked around, turns an 8. JR is open-ended here with that top and bottom open-ender.
Yeah, Joe's got trips, though. Trip 8s, and I'm sure he's going to bet it when it gets checked to him.
Yeah.
And he does. And that should be enough to take it down.
CW Sigyon 2+2 says, I've heard the book is good for deep stack no limit play in theory. I probably won't be getting it as Ed Miller's coming out with a small stakes no limit book with more hand examples. And then,
well, if somebody's listening from 2+2 that has access to Sklansky, maybe they can get us to send us a book or 2 so we can, or 3, as Isaac points around. And we'll do a review on Live at the Bike. I'd love that.
Tracer says, I play primarily limit sit and goes. I have to admit, I love to go to Barnes & Noble and read the poker books, taking notes on note cards. Call me cheap. I did buy Super System 2 and love Jennifer Harmon's section on limit. Problem is, it's hard to find books that have any sort of good material written specifically for limit. And I assume he's talking about limit tournaments. Joe raises here with Ace-Jack, and it looks like he's going to take it down. Because there's a book I actually read right before the tournament I entered in the World Series last year, which was 1500 Limit. I'm not a huge fan of T.J. Cloutier's books, but one of T.J. Cloutier's books, I think it was called Mastering Hold'em, has actually a pretty good section in the back half of the book designed about limit tournaments. Because I would challenge you to go out and find a book, specifically written, or a section of a book specifically written on how to play a limit hold'em tournament. It's not something that you can find easily. Especially limit hold'em tournaments are dying now too.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, there's no substitute for experience.
Pocket threes for Cheryl. She's going to limp in, and Rick is going to raise it up with ace-queen. And look at Eric. He's got queens in the small blind. We've seen 2 or 3 times tonight, queens have just smooth called. And this time, Eric is going to re-raise.
Wow, and he's raising a lot.
He's making it 100.
100 more.
100 more here.
And that is an easy, almost instant fold for seat number 5 for RJ.
Yeah, with ace-queen as opposed to ace-king here, it's just...
You're at best a coin flip, and you've got to realize that you're not going to see all 5 cards. You have to catch your ace or your queen right away. And if you don't catch it, Eric's going to move all in, and what are you going to do then?
I don't want to start...
And even if you catch a queen, you could have kings, sorry.
I don't want to start bad habits with people on the show, but again, we give so much theory about no limit, deep stack. In this game, a way to play that hand if you're Eric there, RJ only has 200. I think you might just smooth call and hope, and you don't think that Cheryl's going to come in because RJ doesn't have that enough, and then check call all in or check raise all in if an ace or a king doesn't come out. Because now you've re-raised and he's going to fold any type of garbage. Because we've seen him raise with garbage in late position. He's a guy that will open it up with nothing.
Yeah, the only problem, I understand what you're saying, the only problem there is Eric's got probably close to $1,000. And seat number 4, Cheryl's got a lot of money also. And if you smooth call that, Cheryl might call thinking you're deep.
Maybe. Yeah. And look at this. Harold has aces now.
A lot of big hands. A lot of big hands out here.
Yeah.
Spades are represented out there. We've got 5-7 of spades in seat number 8. And RJ actually threw away, I believe, 4-6 of spades.
And Harold does not raise with aces here. Limped around with 3 players.
Well, opening the straight draw for Eric in seat number 8.
And it gets checked around. Harold does not bet. Well, the turn's a queen.
Does he know he has aces?
Eric bets 15, and Harold is just going to call. Wow. And if Eric checks here, wouldn't you value bet here with aces? You only got $50 left. Well, the river's a 7. Eric does not get there. He's going to.
I might value bet my 7 here.
Eric bets 20,
thinking I'm value betting. When he turns over aces, you got to be shocked. Is he going to raise now?
Well, he only has like 60 left.
How do you raise now?
All in.
He's going to move in.
40 more.
such a peculiar hand here. And Eric is not going to pay him off.
Why would you? You probably put the guy. I mean, you assume the guy's got.
I mean, that is almost a
I don't
great.
even know what the guy would you put him on.
Let's turn that hand back a little bit. Let's say Harold started that hand, Dave, with 75 or 80. If it gets limped around there, and you have aces, and you only have 75 in front of you, you can even raise it to 15 or 20 more because you're still winning if somebody calls you because they do not have the implied odds to call any raise that you make. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
I almost think you
definitely.
mini pot build there because you're winning long-term expected value there if you're playing so short.
I'm certainly going to bet turn. You know what I mean?
Well, Eric bet the turn. He just
No, I'm
called.
certainly going to bet the flop. I mean, I don't know. I play.
Got a raise here by seat number 6, Jerry, with ace-10 of diamonds. Jack-9, Jack here. Well, Harold's got the best hand here with a 9.
Yeah, nobody has a jack? No.
Jerry's going to make the continuation bet here. And see if Harold makes the check call here with Queen 9.
See, I got to tell you, in this case here, you might. Wow. Just got to lay it down.
Yep.
Not going to get involved.
Again, I know where you were going with. Now, RJ's trying to think about making a move. If you had a jack here and you had Harold stacked, the correct move is to check call or check raise all in. Make Jerry commit and feel he's forced to call with one overcard, ace-10.
Right.
And look at this. RJ's making a stone-cold bluff here. Move. Does not believe Jerry.
120.
Gonna check raise here. It looks like a mini check raise.
And I don't think RJ's got much more money left.
Raise at 60.
So he has mini check raised here. I mean,
I'm not sure what Jerry's doing. Yeah, he's just kind of posturing a little bit. Throws it away. Once again, we're live at the bike. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hanson. You can catch us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 Pacific time. If you missed any part of this show, you can actually catch it on a live loop. We replay it at 11 p.m. tonight, and then every 3 hours until 5 p.m. tomorrow.
we always talk about, Dave, on the show, building a pot, sometimes betting your full house in on the turn. But, again, you have to look at all of the situations of the hand. If the pot is already built up enough where you can get all the guy's money in on the river, like sometimes it is in this game, because let's say the pot's already 400 and the guy only has 200 left, you can actually play it tricky. It's proper to play it tricky. You don't need to build the pot up anymore.
Right.
And, again, that's what we're talking about. Harold, if he thinks the 9 is good, maybe check raising or check calling all in is the correct play, as long as you know that Jerry's always going to bet.
Right.
Disaster happens if he takes a free card.
Now, Allen's actually flopped to best hand here. He's got king 7, top pair, and that should be enough to take it down. You got to realize that is the essence of why every single answer to every poker question is
Right.
almost always it depends. It depends on so many different things.
Alan sometimes posts on the thread as Lucky FCUK, which is that brand of clothing, FCUK. French Connection. Button moves over here to seat 1. Ray, you metrosexual.
Post here from
you.
Jimmy Pancake says, I think Dave's analysis on the cost of 9 hands is a bit off. I'm not sure where the hour comes in. How do you take into account chopping? And for me and Bart, obviously, neither one of us do chop. We play in our blinds. So
Ace King here for Jerry. He's going to raise it up. He's going to make it 30 to go.
Let him out of the closet.
And Harold is going to call with 5s. Now, I don't know if Harold's really deep enough to make this call.
well, if you're calling to thinking you might have the best hand,
If you're calling thinking you've got the best hand, you get it heads up and rags come, I would assume you're going to push on the flop if rags
right? But
come.
if you think you might have the best hand, might you want to push on the flop? I mean, might you want to push pre-flop?
Oh, Ace-7 King. Easy for Harold to get away from.
Yeah,
Top
he
two
definitely
here.
does not have the best hand.
Top 2 here for Jerry. It's a rainbow board. And he's going to check it. And look at Walt. If a queen comes, he might break Jerry here with the gut shot. And the turn's a queen, Dave. I called it. Oh, wow. And Walt is going to come out and bet. Unbelievable. He's going to bet 60. And Jerry is probably... Now, luckily for Jerry, Walt doesn't have that much.
160.
Jerry raises here. Unbelievable. And I got to tell you, Jerry's going to watch this show. Very, very dangerous way to play it against predictable, non-aggressive opponents if he continues to move up in the 5-10 game. Because what if Walt had 1,200 behind and Jerry had him covered? Would he break him?
That's
Would he break through here?
I love players like this. You know, I mean, you think of all the hands that Walt could have here. I mean, when there's 2 Broadway cards out there and you have 2 pair or a set, you have to be aware that if any Broadway card comes off, it could be a straight for somebody.
Yeah.
People will call with 2 Broadway cards sometimes. Queen 10, Jack 10.
Jerry's going to need to catch
Queen Jack.
an ace or a king here to fill up. All the money's in here.
Yeah, unbelievable. Really is. Especially in a passive table like this. How do you expect somebody to really fire at it? A 7 on the river does nothing, and Walt's going to double through. Jerry just gave him a gift.
Because remember,
He's playing it tricky in a game like this. You look at that flop. It's ace, king, 7. What is somebody going to catch to give them a strong second best hand?
I mean, the only thing you might think of is, you know, like if, let's say Walt had ace jack, he called out of the blind with ace jack suited. Better for you to bet ace king there as opposed to check it, because if you check it and now Walt fires out on a blank and now you raise the turn, Walt's going to get away from ace jack. All you're doing is really jamming home reversed implied odds for yourself, giving a guy a free card that can break you here. We're not dealing with a bunch of corporation mics on the table.
If you have a couple players that are going to bluff at it, and you know they're going to bluff at it, sure, you can play it a little differently. But in a game like this, the only time you really want to ever slow play is where there's a strong likelihood that somebody might make a strong second best hand and pay you off. When the flop is ace, king, 7, what are they going to make?
Owen raised it with ace queen here.
And he's going to bet it.
Alan smooth called with jacks. Joe called with queen jack.
And look, he's not going to give Joe with Jack Queen a free draw at the 10 for the nuts. He's also not going to give Alan a chance to hit his set.
Owen bet's kind of weak here, and Joe is trying to think, is this guy weak? Can I get involved?
60.
And look at this. Now Alan's going to put that information raise that he probably should have done against Cheryl. He's going to raise it to 60. And once Owen calls here, Alan's got to know he's behind.
Yeah. The only thing is that might buy Alan a couple of free cards, but in this case, he's drawing you 2 outs. The free card's probably not going to help.
Turns 9.
Does nothing for him. And I got to tell you, I don't mind the check there. You look at that board, ace, deuce, king. You know, if the guy has ace, king on behind, there's no draw there.
Check here by
If
Alan.
check, I'm going to bet the river here. I'm definitely going to bet the
Wow,
river.
Owen checks, and Alan just checks right behind him.
Yeah, and ace, king's good. Ace, queen's good. Oftentimes, let's say it was ace, king, deuce with a couple of hearts. I might check and call with my ace, queen, and then I might fire again on the turn.
Again, I think that's where Alan went a little bit wrong against Cheryl, because if Alan raised that ace, queen right away, and Cheryl did not repush, let's say she just called. Cheryl checked Alan. Again, you put in that half controlling weak turn bet here, as opposed to checking the turn to control pot size and then taking the free showdown with ace queen. Hoping now with the jack on the river that you chop it with ace queen. Instead, against Cheryl, he just called and called and called and lost more money.
Button moves over to seat number 3, small blinds 5, big blinds 5, and Jerry's going to be under the gun. He's not going to play it, though. Owen limps in. Also, another back to relevance in Jimmy Pancake's post where he says my analysis of the 9 hands. Obviously, I don't really care about how much 9 hands cost. My whole point was when you are straddling, you're basically putting in $10 in this game out of position. Why you'd want to do that, I don't really understand. Unless it's part of your kind of meta game. You want to make it look like you're a gambler.
Email here from Brian Rodenkirk. And it's a good email here. Again, I was out
Really
of the
is.
booth when Cheryl came over the top of Walt with the ace-king. But he noticed something in her raise sizes that obviously is the reason why we always preach try to keep your raise sizes consistent regardless of your hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Four players.
Four-way action here, limped around. Jack 7-6 here.
Well, Cheryl's got the best hand here, and if it checks around to her, you imagine she's going to put some money in the pot. She does.
That's a pot size $15 bet here. That's probably going to get it done.
Yeah, that'll be enough. Since you guys mentioned it when Cheryl first came into the game, watch her bet sizes. She re-raised Walt with ace-king and only made the re-raise to 60 or so. Then when she re-raises Alan with her aces, she re-raised 100 on top of Alan's raise. She made it 135 to go with her aces. She does similar things with her open raises, 15 to 20 with paint, 30 to 45 with big pairs. Keep up the good work. He might be back out at the bike during Legends again.
I looked in, I didn't realize what
Thank you for the email, Brian. We appreciate it.
security was going
And obviously, if you're at
I think
the
that
table,
is that CCW Glock on 2+2. How do I know that? How do I remember that? I know it doesn't say anything, but I'm
Oh.
just trying to think off the top of my head.
yeah, obviously, if you're playing at a table with somebody like that, if you can keep track of that,
Yep.
and you notice those things going on, you can start putting somebody on a hand right away when they raise. They're giving away information.
And Mo does it all the time. Of course, Mo, the host of the game, we point
All
it
the
out
time.
all the time.
But sometimes his raises, he's telling you, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Okay, I might have one of these hands. And then depending on how he acts on the flop and on the turn, you can really start limiting his range of hands.
Limped around pre-flop. Turns a 4 of diamonds, checked around on the flop. River's a 9.
That doesn't change anything.
Walt's good with ace-10 here.
Yeah.
No pair.
Have the nuts.
Look at that, 5 players, nobody's got a pair.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Ace-10 is good here. It's gonna play. If I remember from Brian Rodenkirk, he played, last summer here during Legends and such. Played the 10-20, pretty solid player. I don't know if you remember, but you remember his face, Dave.
I don't want to waste it. I know. I don't think the private building
Button's gonna move here to Jerry in seat 6. I gotta tell you, people are talking about OOT on 2+2. Dave, we're gonna have to write a Vegas trip report. Our OOT trip report hanging out with Adult Poker Party.
What
for
is
7
OOT?
days in Vegas.
What does that stand
That's
for?
other topics.
Other topics.
Now look
not
at
just
this.
other topics.
Cheryl, she's got 20 here. So what does she have? Well, this time it's aces, so she actually made it a little bit smaller there. Now, she was the open raise amount over there in late position,
Right.
but not necessarily always a pattern. Apparently.
No, not.
Yeah.
But if you watched Mo's game, I swear it's almost. You will see Mo make it in the 5-10 game or the 10-20 game. You will see him make it 40, 50, $60.
He makes those little stop raises with pocket pairs and suited connectors.
And even sometimes Broadway cards.
And a lot of those daytime guys we play with them are really scared of Mo. And they never want to re-raise him without a huge hand. And then obviously Mo can easily fold to a re-raise.
Well, and most players aren't picking up on that. I don't think. I think most of the players he plays with don't go to that level. They don't start thinking through a hand and go, well, wait a second, Mo only made it 35 to go. He can't have an overpair here. He must have a small pair or this and this and this.
Joe's going to bring this one with ace-jack off, too. The smooth call here from Jerry in position with 6-8 of clubs.
Oh, nice flop.
Now, Jerry here, there's 2 diamonds. And again, well, Joe's going to bet 70. And I just don't think you're deep enough. I mean, Jerry's hand against a player that I might think I can get somebody off of, I might even call on the flop with something as weak as 6-8, all kinds of things I might represent. Obviously, my gin card is a 7. Maybe I can represent a diamond. Maybe I can represent when an 8 comes, I can represent 6-7. Maybe I can represent up and down open-ended with 3-6.
Well, especially against a good player.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't want to be making that move against somebody who's not good.
Right.
Never bluff a bad player who's not paying attention. You got to bluff somebody who's paying attention.
And I
who
really
might actually put you on a hand.
Dave, I made a huge mistake on Friday night. I mean, Clint actually told me when I got into the main game around midnight on Friday night. He said, Bart, don't bluff this guy. He's crazy. And I tried to bluff him with a 4 flush on board, and he made 2 pair in the river and called me off. I was trying to represent an open-ended straight draw. And, it's just so true. There's just better spots.
Well,
Limp and a raise here.
yeah, both players have king jack, and this is going to be whoever bets first is probably going to take it down, and Eric's going to bet it.
Yeah, Eric raised it pre-flop.
And he'll take it down here. Tower position. Yeah, one of the first things I like to do when I sit down at a table is I will try to catalog the players I'm playing against. And I will kind of look at them and go, okay, first off, is he passive or is he aggressive? Second of all, is he loose or is he tight? Then I'll start rating him. Okay, is he a good player, bad player? I'll also look at, can I bluff this person, can I not bluff this person? Is this more of a person that I want to be value betting against? So forth and so on. Obviously, other things you can look at.
It's a long story, or I just tell,
Butt moves over here to seat 9.
Option first. 4 players.
4-way action here. Limped around, ace deuce jack here on the flop. Jerry limped in with ace-10. He's got the best hand. He's going to bet 30. Harold's not going to get involved here with jack-10. And Jerry is going to take it down.
So once again, if you haven't checked out the video blog or you're new to the show, what we like to do here at Live to Bank, on our website, we have what's called a video blog. We'll call it Bart's video blog. Anyway,
Can we change the name of that, please?
Yeah, we'll do that right away.
Tuckman Under the Gun, Hanson's video blog, over on the left-hand side of the screen.
Anyway, what we do there is we analyze your hands or any other hand we might see. We kind of dissect it. We take it to the next level. What we do on the show, obviously, we've got to do pretty quickly because we're doing the commentary on an ongoing game. We don't have the time to really dissect a hand.
Right.
But if you check out the video blog, we really get into it. So if you have a hand that's been kind of driving you crazy, you're not sure if you played it right, you're not sure what you should have done, email us within the subject hand for blog with all the pertinent details. Everything. Be as specific as possible. And if we like your email, we will get to it on our next video blog.
30? That is like the worst deal of all time.
Well, it was limped around pre-flop, checked around on the flop. Allen did not take a stab at it there with king of clubs 3. And Owen bets here with a jack, and he takes it down.
Hey, we're not asking you for your bad beat stories.
And again, you know, we had a lot of nice attempts. I actually didn't have any email that was good enough for the video blog last week because people forget to, you know, include all of the pertinent information. When you don't include the background about how a player plays, what his style is, and what the stack sizes are, you know, it's almost impossible to analyze a hand.
Yeah. The more you give us, the better we can analyze it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about everything. Tell us if the guy's been winning a lot. Tell us if you've been winning. What's your image like at the table? What's his image like at the table? Did you bluff him out earlier? Did he bluff you out earlier? All sorts of things. This is obviously, sometimes I read on 2+2, and I read some people give you a hand. And I always look at it going, well, that doesn't really tell me much. How am I supposed to answer this?
55.
Now, RJ is straddled once again. A limp by Harold, and Allen's got 2 red 10s on the button. He's going to make it 55 to go. And I got to tell you, I mean, RJ, sometimes people get involved, like when they straddled, it's like double the big blind. I want to defend. I don't necessarily know if I'd make this call. Allen's playing really tight tonight, Dave, with queen 10 suited out of
Harold
position.
not in there, and there's an overpair there.
Yeah.
Terrible flop for queen 10 of spades. Easy to get away from for RJ, though.
I mean, Allen's short here. No fold equity. He's pretty much all in, looks like. Again, you look at it, and yeah, I know you've straddled, but a guy who's short has raised it to 55.
Yeah.
What are you trying to hit there with queen 10?
In a cash game, I see it all the time. The leaks, small blind leaks and big blind leaks. I just think playing out of those spots, obviously if you get a free walk in the big blind, that's a different story. But defending your blinds. In a cash game, the blinds just aren't that big, usually relative to your stats.
It's not like limit poker. It's not limit.
It's not limit, and it's not a tournament.
Right.
Sometimes in a tournament, if the raise is small enough with antes and stuff, you are correct.
You're getting like 4 or 5 to 1.
Yeah, especially if it's a pretty predictable passive player. Yeah, why not?
Allen's got ace-queen here. He's going to open for 25
But in the
cutoff.
In the end, I mean, why do I want to put more money? Ask yourself this. Why do I want to put more money in the pot out of position with a bad hand? There better be some compelling reason for me to put more money in the pot there.
Walt, I think he was really trying to figure out if he should call with 7-8 suited. But obviously Allen's on the short stack, so he probably should not call with 7-8 suited, and he gets rid of it. You know, I was talking to Abo before Friday's game, and I actually, you know, I think you and I, or me, especially when Abo used to just play the Wednesdays game and Shirley was in here doing the commentary with me, we used to give Abo a real hard time about some of the plays that we made, but our commentaries come forward so much now that we've played no limit over the last 4 or 5 months full time. I have a lot of respect for some of the things that he says. And he says, you know, when I'm playing like shit, I'm playing garbage hands out of position. When I'm playing good, I'm not. I mean, I know it's not as cut and dry as that, but it really is.
Well, position is so important. When I talked to Jonas about this, he said, if you were going to give a lesson to somebody, what would be the first thing you would say? He goes, if I only had 1 minute to teach somebody something, I would give him one word, and I would say position is everything.
$35 raise here by Joe with queen, jack off suit. Harold limped in with a suited ace rag, and he's going to get away from it, and Joe's going to take it down.
I mean, honestly, when I was giving that lesson, and I gave my first poker lesson last week.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, we're going to have kind of poker lessons on the website, something that Dave and I are going to be starting to do with some of our contact information. Look for that in the next week
check
or
it
so.
out. Go to our bios and
Yeah.
check it out. Ways to contact us. But when I was giving my first lesson, I realized that the first thing I really had to teach this guy was the value of position. I was trying to tell him, do not play hands out of position unless you have to. Basically, when we tell everybody listening to the show, anybody familiar with the show knows I preach this all the time. I look for an excuse not to play a hand in the first 3 spots. And usually I'm looking for an excuse to play a hand in the last 3 spots.
Now, of course, that is not an absolute rule. There are exceptions, as always. 'Cause
Nothing's absolute.
I have to tell you, in the game we were playing today, I was limping in with 7-8, 6-8 of diamonds from up front because there wasn't a lot of pre-flop racing going on.
Right.
And I thought that you'd actually take a little more control. You were a couple spots to my left, but you probably weren't getting a lot of good hands on the button. But I knew from up front when you weren't in position, I didn't have to worry about a raise from you with a speculative hand on the button.
Right.
Raise here by RJ with 3-4 of diamonds. Jerry's call with king 10. RJ does not bet there with the 4. Turns a 5. His hand gets stronger. It goes check, check again. He is giving Jerry free cards. King or a 10 would win. River's a 5. And now maybe there isn't a point for RJ to bet. Well, maybe he gets called by an ace high. And he's going to take it down. Because, again, the reason why I was limping with a lot of speculative hands from up front, there wasn't a lot of pre-flop raising. And when I flopped my 2 pair, Dave, I was getting paid off by everyone.
Yeah, you
It
get
was
paid off
ridiculous.
anyway, yeah. Well, that was the kind of... The reason I wasn't raising too much, and I think we're going to chip count right here.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at another chip counter.
Eric, our chip leader, with 1,050. Harold bringing up the rear with 150. 4,500 on the table. Let's see how they're doing. Let's see how they're doing. There they are. Eric up 650 for the day. Cheryl up 375. Nice showing by Cheryl. Walt up 100. Rick RJ there. He's down $1,150. Jerry down 500. And we'll keep a track of that. Probably get one more chip count before the end of the night. Yeah, I kind of viewed the table that we were playing at, and I'll give you the view. There's kind of 3 different type of tables that I label, and this is very obviously.
Now, Alan here limped in. The flop comes ace, deuce, deuce, and he bets. I don't want to rip on Alan, but I got to tell you, in that spot, I think he's giving some value away on just limping in with ace queen. He has not raised really with ace queen all night except for one open raise in the cutoff.
I want somebody calling me in this game. Now, I'm going to give you very basic labeling of 3 tables that you kind of sit down at.
Yeah.
Now, there's the real aggressive table where there's a lot of bluffers. And in a table like that, obviously you're going to be sitting and you're going to let them bluff. You might introduce some bluffs, different way to play the table. Then you've got a real passive table, and I kind of view this as a pretty passive table where you can be raising a lot in position and you can kind of be the table captain and take over the table, kind of run it over. And then you get the third type of table, which is kind of the table we played at today, which is more of a calling station
Loose
table.
passive calling.
Right, exactly. Now, it's passive, but it's calling. Now, this is passive, more folding type hand. This is actually more type passive, while that was passive loose.
Now, this RJ brought it in with ace 9, and Jerry called with ace 10 offsuit, easily dominating hand. I hate that hand. And the flop comes queen 8-6, and it just goes check, check. The turn's a 5.
Jerry's going to win this with 10 high.
Check, check again. Well, now the river's a 10.
And Jerry's going to bet for value, and I don't mind this at all. Maybe you get called by a 6 or an 8. Who knows?
Maybe you get called by ace king.
Well, RJ's thinking about it now. He's not going to call though. And I'll tell you, the table we were playing at today, like you said, was a loose calling station table where you're really going to be betting for value.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of flops in position, and when you hit, you will get paid, and you should continue betting because you will get paid. I mean, I had some guy today, he flopped a set of aces, and he moved all in on me. Unbelievable.
Email here from Junior Corsal. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that because I guess it's a French name. Just want to tell you guys that there's a couple of us watching from Quebec, Canada. This is by far the best poker show anywhere. You guys are, again, by far the best commentators for poker. We've got a raise here by Jerry. Ace-Jack offsuit. Got a call here by a dominated Queen-Jack by Owen. And we are heads up here. Ace-Jack against Queen-Jack. 10-4-4 here on the flop. Check, check. And here we go, Dave. We're talking about very, very passive post-flop here. Turns a 7. Check again. The river's a queen, and Owen Rivers the guy. Is Owen going to bet for value? He does not. He takes it down with Queen Jack. What do you think about this email, though? You know, we were talking about British food last week, and I was kind of looking up shepherd's pie, what shepherd's pie is in England.
Right.
And it's usually like mashed potatoes, usually ground lamb or ground beef, and some vegetables. Now, in America, though, that didn't sound right. And cheese. Now, in America, shepherd's pie is kind of a creamed corn, mashed potatoes, and ground beef. But my mother, French Canadian, she used to make something called petit chinois. French Canadians, which was a Quebec French Canadian shepherd's pie. Where was I going with this?
I think the French Canadian.
The French
thing.
Canadian guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
petit chinois.
I was wondering where you were going.
If anybody, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Are we going to answer this guy's question?
What was the question? Sorry. King Jack off pocket tens here for Jerry. He raises and he takes.
Okay, the question is that I find that the lower the stakes,
Yeah.
it seems like the average pot is higher in relation to the blinds, of course, than in the bigger games. And I think that is the truth. I think if you were to play, let's say you played in a limit game.
Yeah.
In the 3-6 limit game, you can win one pot an hour, and it can be 100 chips.
Yeah.
Okay? While if you're playing, let's say, the 10-20 game or the 20-40 game, rarely are you going to win that many chips in comparison.
He is specifically talking about no limit hold'em, though.
Okay, same difference. It doesn't really make
But I think one of the reasons why in the bigger blinded no limit hold'em games the pots are smaller and relative to the blinds is because people aren't as deep in that game compared to smaller no limit games.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
But you've got to realize, obviously, with the smaller blinds, you're going to see more people seeing the flop. You're going to have worse players also who are putting in money without good hands.
Look at this. RJ raised with... Now, who was the pre-flop raiser here? It was Cheryl who was the pre-flop raiser with 7s. RJ just smooth call with 9s. The flop comes 10-6-8 with 2 clubs. Cheryl bets and just a call by RJ. Well, the turn's a 3.
And this is the problem with a board like this. Does RJ have you beat already, or does he have a draw?
Well, Cheryl's going to keep betting. It's kind of weak. And you wonder if Cheryl would probably bet more with an overpair, and I think RJ might sense this weakness.
Yeah, and he's going to raise it, kind of a minimum raise here.
Yeah. Now, she's got a gut shot. She needs one of RJ's 2 cards. She obviously has 2 outs here.
And she's not going to she's going to throw it away. Nice laydown. The river was a 6. Wouldn't have changed anything. But yeah, obviously, the lower the limit, the worse players, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And they're putting in more money with hands they shouldn't be putting money in with. While as you play higher limits, oftentimes you see it heads up or 3 ways. So the pots will be smaller in relation to the blinds.
Isn't that amazing? I just remembered like what my mother used to make when I was like 4 years old. French Canadian food.
It's phenomenal.
Touche.
Really.
Meat pies. That was another French thing that she made. And petit chinois. Those
Do you
guys
speak
from Quebec.
French?
Very, very little, just from what I learned in school.
Does your mom speak
My
French?
mom, that was actually her first language, but she lost it. I mean, sometimes she'll go up there with my uncles and she can kind of understand. French Canadian is almost like a different language than
completely
French.
different, yeah.
It's very, very different accent and stuff.
I used to play hockey with a bunch of guys that were French Canadian.
Yeah.
I used to make fun of them terribly. It was great.
6-way action here. Jack 7-4 here. King Jack here for RJ in seat 5.
RJ, the cards are finally starting to come for him. And looks like he might win his 2nd pot in a row.
He's going to bet out here. Now, Joe... Oh, excuse me. Joe's just got bottom here. I thought he was open-ended for a second there.
Might be a little frustrating at a table like this. If you lose $1,000 or $1,100 like RJ has, it could take you 7 hours to get that back at this kind of table.
Yep. Email here from Andy Bullerman. He says, from Bones, he says, is there ever a time when you limp on the button if you're the first or second into the pot? Why not raise, represent strength, and get the blinds out? Even if you have middle pair, represent that you have more. I've seen bad limps on the button in this game in the last 15 minutes. Thanks, guys. Awesome job. Sometimes we talked about when we used to do the limit games on Mondays, when you might limp in on the button. In a limit game, is there ever a time you would limp in a no-limit game on the button?
First in, yeah, I mean, there not very many, but once in a while I might I might limp in if I want action from that guy in the blind. Rare, obviously. But once in a while, no limit, there is some value to that because you can put $10 in, or in this case $5, and maybe win a huge pot.
4-way action here. Flop comes Queen, Jack, Jack. $30 bet here by Owen with top pair.
Now, I know you do. I've seen you actually limp in the
Have I?
button.
Really?
I mean, not often, but I've seen you do it.
Well, the other thing you got to understand if you're going to limp in on the button is, I don't know if I would ever limp in with a big pocket pair, but even if you were to do that, especially in a deeper game, you have to be good at manipulating pot size. Now, you have to be good at manipulating pot size, and the guy in the blind has to be a very predictable player that will not bluff. Because what I mean by that is if you're going to get check raised on the turn in a limped pot with aces with an overpair, you just got to be able to just release it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just.
I mean, would you ever just limp in, let's say Allen was in the big blind? Would you ever just limp in there, knowing that there's no way he's going to fold, but you want to see the flop?
Ace, King, 10 here with a couple spades. Gets checked around, turns a jack.
Anybody with a queen would have a straight here.
RJ's got the best hand here. He's the only one.
And nobody can win this pot outright.
And Joe's going to bet 15 here.
And he's going to take it down. Nice steal by Joe. He goes, you know what? Nobody else wants it. I'll take it.
Got about 20 minutes left in the show here, Dave.
And I don't think Joe's actually gotten a hand all night long. He's just stolen a couple of pots here and there to keep himself afloat.
Yeah, he hasn't seen. I mean, we saw him have huge pots. Now, he's had some big pre-flop hands. But remember, we always talk about the biggest hands you're going to win in No Limit Hold'em aren't the ones with your premium hands. They're your hidden hands. The only time you're going to win big pots with premium hands is, say, when you've got Eric with queens, with a set of queens versus another set, right? Set over set.
Yeah, it's rare that you think of a time where you're going to win a big hand.
Unless you've got
with pocket
aces versus somebody who's got
Queens
kings,
or kings.
and it gets all committed.
Yeah.
Eric's got, look at this, speak of the devil, Eric's got queens again. He raises to 25, and he's going to take it down. Sometimes in this game, especially if you only start at 500, I don't think it's correct. We talked about when it is ever correct to fold kings pre-flop, what kind of action. When you're not deep in this game, I just think, as we've seen, there's so many people that push with queens and jacks, and I don't think it's ever correct to fold kings in this game. Unless you really know your player, Dave.
In this game, I don't see how you can.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, I mean, well, if you get, let's say you got a raise from Cheryl to $25. Right? And you had kings, and you re-raised it up to 75.
Right.
And then you had, say, Joe in seat 1 re-raise it to 200.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
then Cheryl pushed all in.
Right, yeah.
Might you throw away kings there?
Yeah. You might.
Because it's, you know what I mean? You look at the players, specifically those players involved.
Four-way action here. King 6-3 here with a couple of hearts. Maybe I'll amend that and say heads up. I don't know if you'd ever fold kings.
Right.
Checked around on the flop that turns 3.
But obviously, it's got to be a really strange circumstance for you to throw away kings in this game. But as you play deep stack poker, you've got to be able to throw away kings pre-flop, or you can lose a big, big pot.
Button moves over here to seat 7.
Interesting email here from Richard.
Jerry's going to make it 40 with a couple of jacks, and he takes it down. Obviously, we're always looking for your suggestions about the show, comments, criticisms.
Yeah.
And this one is interesting. He says, I watched the shows from last week, both during this week and on Sunday. No question about it, I would be totally happy if the TV coverage was limited to the overhead camera only. It is too difficult to follow the players when your director cuts to various players during the hand. Please keep the actual action only to the overhead camera. When switches occur, I am not immediately...
He can't follow where the action is. What seat number is in view and so forth and so on. He said basically for him it's easier to follow the action with the overhead camera. And it's funny, sometimes we get emails like that. More often than not, we get emails saying we love different cameras, different angles.
Because I think one show last week we went with just the overhead because one of the cameras failed. Remember? Right. Yeah. Race here by Jerry with 6s. Owen calls. Harold calls. Here comes the flop.
That's not a real good flop for either 9s or 6s.
How about yeah, it is. How about for 6s? Jack 6,
Oh,
10.
sorry.
And Jerry was the pre-flop raiser, and he's going to continue to bet here. Unfortunately for him, no one really has anything that I think can be called.
Will Harold take one off with a gut shot to the straight?
Gut shot, backdoor clubs.
Overcards.
Owen's going to get rid of it. In limit hold'em, you might in a raise pot.
In limit hold'em, you definitely take
Yeah.
one off here with ace-queen
Yeah.
clubs. I really do think so.
Yeah.
Although you got to be careful, obviously. Oftentimes, a mistake begets a mistake. You catch an ace here, and you're behind somebody who has ace-jack.
Well, you also, if you
10.
catch a club, you still have to stick around and limit hold'em too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Turn would have been a 4 of hearts. Wouldn't have changed anything. Second part of his email, he says, I enjoyed the sit and go, which he watched. He also said he'll be in Vegas 1 week during the World Series of Poker, and if he plays on a satellite, this show allowed me to get a sense to how things go. And hopefully other people enjoyed it too. Obviously, that was the purpose of it. Hopefully, you guys were entertained at the same time. Any of you that have never played in a live sit and go, a live one-table satellite, now have a feeling, now have an idea of what it is like.
25.
$25 raise here by Eric. He's got pocket rockets. Man, we have seen some big hands tonight. And this time, Allen has got ace-king. And ace-king is a hand that is sometimes dominated if you're against aces.
Right.
If he flops a king here, well, 10-10-5.
A nice flop round, easy to get away from.
Yeah. I mean, rarely do we talk about ace-king being dominated. Ace-queen obviously much more likely to be dominated because if you flop a queen, you could be up against kings or aces.
And Allen's going to get rid of it.
Yeah. But again, you wonder with Allen's chip stack, I assume if that flop came king, rag, it was probably a check raise all in and a call by Eric.
And nothing wrong with that. Obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, if you or I had the same hand, ace-king there, and a king flop, yeah, we'd probably lose our money as well.
Yeah.
Looks like Rick Nebbiolo left our show and went home, and he is on the 2+2 thread.
He wants to see men's tennis go back to wooden rackets, a la, John McEnroe style. It's funny, I went and played another round of paddle tennis at Venice Beach this weekend, and the guys were talking
Same
about...
guy?
Yeah, the guys were talking about how Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe played there last weekend in doubles and lost to one of the best paddle tennis doubles teams the weekend before.
Now, I'm just curious, this is the
Bjorn
second time
Borg.
you went to play with him?
Third time.
Third time. You guys are getting pretty serious, huh? Something going on?
Yeah, something going on. Paddle tennis. Queen 10 deuce here with a couple diamonds. Limped around, checked around, turns a 7. Joe turns 2 pair.
You tell your mom about it yet?
Joe is not in the hand. And the river here is a queen. Queen of hearts. And it looks like Allen is good here with ace high. Ace 9 takes it down.
How do you like paddle tennis? On a serious note.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. We weren't playing it correctly. We were using real tennis balls at first, but the proper way to play the game is actually to deaden a tennis ball. You're supposed to stick a hole in it.
Really?
And let the air out. Yeah.
Okay. So it plays more like almost like a squash ball?
Yeah, I've never played squash. Is squash kind of a deader ball?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Compared to racquetball, it is.
Uh-oh. Pocket kings for Joe, jacks for RJ, ace queen of diamonds for Eric.
Wow, some big hands here.
I mean, how many times is Joe going to get kings in this game? $35 raise by RJ, smooth call by Eric, and let's see what Joe's going to do. If Joe re-raises here,
Yeah, jacks are
where
pretty
are
easy.
jacks?
Jacks are pretty easy to get away from if he raises me.
Now, I can't-
Especially because I'm out of position against him.
Now, Joe threw a white chip in there.
Well, he made it 100 to go.
Okay, he made it 100 to go. So a $65 raise on top.
Now the problem is though, is RJ aware? Does he know? And this is the reason. This is one of the reasons why kings are never really. You can't throw them away because people overvalue jacks.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. If it's jacks here and the flop comes out rags, it gets checked and Joe bets, and then RJ check raises all in on an 8-high board. There's so many hands you can beat here.
Well, this board is bound to hit somebody. It's either bound to either come out rags or maybe Eric hits it.
Let's say it's a 9-high board and RJ check raises all in. That's why you call with kings. You can beat 10s, you can beat jacks, you can beat queens.
Oh, definitely.
Three-way action here, $300 pot. Eric overcalls with ace queen. Look at this, 9-high board. I called it, and if RJ check raises all in, it's an easy call for kings.
Oh yeah,
Like I said.
easy call. I think he's going to bet right into it though.
Do you? I'm saying if you want to play this hand for all your chips,
I think it is a check raise, but
don't you think you should check raise if you're going to play for all your chips here?
You're certainly not going to get a better hand out by betting.
I think this is
There's no fold
This
equity
is
here.
one of those times when we talk about in this game, this is actually a mistake to bet if you think you have the best hand.
Well, you've got to realize there's no way you're going to get a better hand out.
Because Joe moves all in, and RJ has to call now. I mean, he's getting almost 5 or 6 to 1 now. It's just crazy.
Well, I think once you call pre-flop with jacks, I think you're putting yourself in a spot. You've already put, say, 40% of your money in there. What are you going to do?
He makes the call.
And Joe's going to win a pot. And you know what? Joe's only played maybe 3 hands all night.
Yeah.
And he's made a nice profit here. He just waits, and he still gets paid off. It's amazing.
Like I said, I don't want to start people, on playing backwards play, but to get more advanced in this particular game with that chip stack, if you're going to play, if this board comes out 9 high and I'm going broke or I'm winning with jacks, it is a check call all in or a check raise all in that spot, as opposed to a bet.
Oh, definitely. But you got to think about it. If you move in with jacks, the only hand that you might get to call that you have beat is ace king of hearts, and in that case you're actually about 50-50, or pocket 10, specifically pocket 10s.
Yeah.
More likely, you will get any hand that is worse than yours to lay down, ace king, ace queen, and you will get any hand that has you beat to call you or raise you.
Now, the only thing that RJ might say is, well, I don't want Joe to check behind me and spike an ace, a king, or a queen that can beat me.
Okay.
That's something that, someone might say with jacks.
Pretty unlikely that in a raise and re-raise pot,
Joe's going to check the flop. Right.
And, first of all, Eric's got to check it, and then Joe's got to check it. I'm going to let him bet with ace king, and I'm going to move in.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to fold jacks pre-flop, which is probably the better way to play it.
Eric's going to raise the straddle here with king, queen suited. And RJ, wow, Dave, look at how short he is. He's going to call with a dominated queen 10 offsuit. Might be a little bit steaming here. Jack 8-3 here. Jerry's got the best hand.
100.
And Eric's going to make a nice continuation bet. Eric usually does not play that aggressively post-flop, and that's probably going to get it done.
Yeah, I don't think Jerry's not going to call there.
Yeah. Which, again, is more and more the reason why it's so funny how recently in the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks, we bring up an example, and then it just happens. King's there.
Well, you think about how many hands we see.
Yeah.
If you were to say 30 hands an hour, every hour, we're talking approximately 100 hands every day, 500 hands a week, 2,000 hands a month. There's just so much poker we're seeing. And we see it all. It's one of the reasons why the value of the archives is just unbelievable.
Absolutely.
If there's ever something that's kind of confused you and you're not sure how to play it, just check out the archives, because I guarantee you we have an example of that exact play that you're confused about somewhere over the last year and a half.
5-way action here, limped around. 7-6-3 with a couple of spades. Pocket 4s and pocket 5s in the hand. Just barely missed a set. And Eric is going to lead in here with third pair to the board.
I like the bet by Eric. I really do. He's got a gut shot straight draw. Good chance nobody has anything. Why not take it down right now?
7-6-3 on board. I believe Joe folded the ace-7 pre-flop. And Eric is going to take it down.
Get one more chip count before the end of the night. Button moves over to seat number 5.
And even in the deeper games when someone's short stack, Dave, and you have queens or kings, and you raise and they call. Well, let's take a look at the chip
$4,300 on the
count.
table here. Eric's still the chip leader. He's got $1,000 on the table. Cheryl now in second place with $760. Walt with $600. Joe's moved up to $500 now. You got it after that win, huh? Only $500. And let's see how they're doing. Eric up $600. Cheryl up $260. Joe's still down $200 after that win. Obviously not having a great night tonight. Rick, though, our big loser, is down $12.50.
Cheryl's going for raisin chips. She's going to make it 20 to go. We'll speculate on that, what her hand is before it goes up. I can see what it is.
All in.
And now RJ is going to push over the top.
With pocket 3s.
All
Well, he's
in
ahead.
with 3s.
90.
Now that might get Jerry out of the hand. Wow.
And might not.
Well,
How much was the raise to?
It was 90.
Wow. She made it 20. He made it 90, and he called.
Yeah. Now what do you do?
Harold's got
I
3s,
assume
too.
that Walt.
Harold's going to call with 3s.
Wow.
And he's calling all of his money off.
He's calling all his money off with 3s. I assume this is going to get Walt out of the hand. Now, if you're Cheryl now, You've got, I mean, is there enough dead money, even though ace-king is not disguised, that you can call, figuring if you flop an ace or a king, you're good here? I think you might call now.
The only problem is sometimes when you get that many players calling a raise and a re-raise,
Yeah.
you might think that a lot of your aces and kings are dead.
Right.
You might be thinking people are calling with ace-queen,
Right.
king-queen. There's a couple of players that are almost all in here.
Yeah.
I probably throw this away. It's
Really?
ace-king offsuit. Yeah, I probably do.
I got to tell you, I think I call here. I assume that Walt here is going to fold sevens.
You can tell me?
I think I call here because I think even if I miss my ace or a king, because the only person with money on the table here is Jerry, and I think he's going to check it to me regardless of what comes out. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
If
That's a good
if
argument.
this board comes out 5 high and Jerry checks, I take the card. I don't think there's
Well,
any
of course, I
doubt.
can't beat
Yeah.
the other two players anyway.
That's why I call, because the other person in the hand is somewhat passive post-flop.
Okay, and I do have position on this player. You're right, okay.
Yeah. Here we go to the flop. All right, 8 high. What is Jerry going to do?
I think Jerry needs to bet this. I really do. I think he's crazy if he checks it. And he's going to bet it.
Okay. Well, I was wrong. He bets. I thought maybe he would give me a card. Didn't he?
Yeah, I agree with you. I
You
thought
know.
he might too, but
And let's say maybe even if the board comes 10 or jack high, he'll give me a card.
right. Now, Walt actually would have flopped a set of sevens there, but did not call pre-flop.
Right.
And you can't blame him. You're not going to call $90 pre-flop in this game. You're just not deep enough.
Well, I think it's time for Cheryl now to fold again. When you've got a guy betting on the side here, and you've got 2 people all in, yeah, she's going to fold.
And those players are pretty much drawing dead, by the way, because they both have pocket threes.
I mean, they would need some sort of running straight here, right?
Or running spades.
Yeah, running spades for RJ.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
it's
it.
over.
It's over.
It's over.
And Jerry's going to win himself quite a big pot there. $90. He's going to win $360, and he's winning. He's actually earning himself $270.
And again, the point I make there, though, is that I said if the flop comes out rags, let's see what Jerry's going to do. It's a good bet by Jerry, but if the flop comes out with a Broadway card high, I think he might check, and I can check behind him. The turn, he still might check, and I can check behind him. I'm almost seeing 5 cards against him. That's why I call.
Right,
flop.
I understand what you're saying.
You know?
My only thought is this: okay, you've got a guy in seat 5 moving all in. Now he could be tilting, and he could have anything, and like you said, pocket threes. But then you get a call, and then now when seat number 6, when Jerry calls, I don't put him on aces or kings because I think he'd re-raise with aces or kings, so I'm not worried about that one.
Yeah.
But then seat 9, he moved all in, and I got to put that guy in a big hand, don't I? So then I'm thinking, well, is there really any value to my ace-king?
Dave, do you watch Entourage? Oh, you don't get HBO. I actually meant to say this. Johnny on 2+2 said, anyone see 2-time Live at the Bike player James Woods on Entourage? Now, the most interesting thing about his appearance on Entourage was that his girlfriend was with him, and that girl comes here a lot with him. I think her name is Erica Madsen or something like that. I actually looked that up on IMDb.
Any relation to Virginia Madsen?
No, I don't think so.
Or Michael Madsen?
You know what I'm talking about, right, Isaac? We had a raise here, I believe, by Jerry.
Well, there's the ace for Jerry.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. I'm sure they'll... Now, Harold is rebought for $100. Would you ever rebuy in this game for $100?
I mean, you gotta. Again, I always talk about this. We don't see people play short stack poker that well on the show. When anyone attempts to do it, Dave.
In this game, though, what's the value of rebuying for $100?
I don't know if James Woods' girlfriend ever played on the show, but I definitely have seen her out in the 3 to 5 game. If anyone watched Entourage, boy, she's a hottie. My goodness, little 20-year-old bombshell that Jimmy Woods has for him there for himself.
Where did he pick that up? I mean, what?
I don't know. So I actually read somewhere that it was one of his golfing buddies' daughters.
I'm sure that worked out well. I know. That's great by Isaac. Isaac says, was it to settle a bet? Classic.
4-way action here, limped around.
Ace 5-5, rainbow. There's an ace for Harold. Now, nobody's got much of anything. We always talk about ragged aces there. Generally, you're going to either win yourself a small pot or lose a big one. 4 on the turn changes nothing. And Harold's not going to put any money in the pot. Now he's made a full house. And he's finally going to get somebody to actually bet into him.
He just picks up random.
Any value to raising this if you're Harold? I guess, maybe you get called by a 5.
Nine's the best hand before the flop, after the flop.
And Eric is betting with a king And you know what? He thought his king was good. I think he was betting with what he really thought was the best hand there. Aces and fives with a king kicker.
It's going to be the last hand of the night. I'm going to get to one quick email here because I got to disagree with Bernie Mackinson guy. Said subject, Joe in seat 1. I know Joe's a tight player and plays well, but can a player like this, in parentheses, who waits for pocket kings and aces, be so predictable that when cards run bad, not be able to win? They have to wait for the nuts and do not play, quote-unquote, the game. What's your opinion on this type of player? I know where you're going, Bernie, and I think you have labeled the wrong player because Joe is not that type of player.
No,
there's no way.
I think you're looking at more like
a Dr. Beebe.
Dr. Beebe, or even more like a Kirk.
Right.
And I really wonder how those guys win. I do. I happen to agree with you in that case. But Joe, actually, he's a well-rounded player who, if you watch tonight's show, he's actually a nice couple of steals here and there to keep himself afloat.
Three-way action here. Limped around. Ace, queen, 8. And look at this. Now, Joe is going to be the first better here with queen 6 on an ace, queen 8 board. And he's going to take it down. Harold Muck's the best hand there.
Yeah.
So we talk about Joe is definitely not passive post-flop by any stretch of the imagination.
No, Joe's he's actually the correct way to play. He is a tight pre-flop player and aggressive post-flop, which is probably the best style.
Well, that's going to do it for us. That was a nice show, man. I liked it. A lot of interesting hands. He's still rubbing it in. They get the Chelsea Football Club shirt on. Well, you didn't get to the fact that the Czech goaltender is the starting goaltender for Chelsea.
I didn't need to.
What's that guy's last name? Czech.
Peter Czech. Anyways, we'll see you tomorrow. Probably either this game, maybe a 500, maybe a 200. Yeah. No limit. Brazil tomorrow. See everybody tomorrow. Good night, everyone, from Live at the Bike.
And it's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the Bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.